Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube show Tuesday Night Trek. Its mission, to catalog every piece of Star Trek media, to keep alive the spirit of Gene Roddenberry, to boldly go where no YouTube show has gone before. Hello and welcome to Tuesday Night Trek, where Tuesday is spelled wrong. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. But anyways, I am Master Paul, as always, joined by Golgo13's Anime 101 and the Nerdporeal Lifeform. Spock will be joining us here in a little bit. And so, again, this is going to be a little bit different of a show, because once we're done talking about the Star Trek stuff tonight, as you guys likely saw in the title, we're going to be talking about Terminator 2 again, because now Michael has seen it, and hopefully he's seen it by now. I haven't asked him yet, but he's going to pop on and talk about it with us. So, pretty exciting stuff. And, of course, hello to Alan Copeland and the Matt Cave, who will be joining us for the Terminator 2 segment, being like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Sunglasses.
Yes, and sunglasses. Can't forget those. All right, so let's real quick name the episodes that we're going to be talking about today. So we're talking about episodes 1 through 10 of Season 3, and... Oh, my mic's falling. There it is. The episodes are Spock's Brain, The Enterprise Incident, The Paradise Syndrome, and The Children Shall Lead, Is There No Truth in Beauty, Spectre of the Gun, Day of the Dove, For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky, The Tholian Web, and Plato's Stepchildren. So we were kind of discussing this a little bit behind the scenes before we started this, guys, but officially, what is your thoughts on this block of episodes as a whole?
Oh, man. Season 3 of the original series it's very hit and miss. And for me, most of these are misses. And that's... even as bad as that is, it's still better than Curse from Trek. But in the overall grand scheme of everything, there's only one that I really liked out of all of them that I was able to watch, and that's the Enterprise Incident, because that's the only one, to me anyways, that truly felt like more like a Season 1 type of Star Trek episode, whereas the other ones felt a little more like a bad leftover of Season 2 episodes. And it's sad to see the degradation of it happen over the course of the show, but that's what happens when you run out of money and when you get renewed unexpectedly.
Fair enough. Brian, your thoughts?
Well, I back in the day, Spock's Brain was one of 2 tapes that I first owned of Star Trek. So Spock's Brain in particular has a very special place in my heart. And just growing up, I really liked. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I actually really liked a lot of episodes from Season 3. I know the problems that Season 3 has compared to Season 2, especially. But the episodes that I initially saw when I was a kid, I really, really enjoyed. So I loved Spock's Brain. I loved Enterprise Incident. Tholian Web. Tholian Web is freaking amazing, and it doesn't even hit. You barely see Kirk in that episode. Spectre of the Gun was another pretty interesting one. I think and then there were a few ones I didn't really like as much, and The Children Shall Lead is one. And then that weirdly trippy episode, Is There in Truth No Beauty? With the second appearance of Diana Muldaur. This time she wears a black wig. And everybody says how much they love her, or not love her, but how great she is, which back then it was fine because it didn't always happen. But now in most entertainment, it's a red flag generally for a type of character with the first name Mary and last name Sue.
Understandable.
That's one thing. Since I just rewatched this, I just noticed that. But in this series, She was not one of those. But this Spock episode's really liked. You know, it's very nostalgic for me.
Understandable. So yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle on this one because I could tell that the storytelling overall was starting to decline a little bit. And I told you guys already this behind the scenes, and the Children Shall Lead has officially become my least favorite Star Trek the Original Series episode.
What? It's worse than Jack the Ripper becoming a specter
Yes,
or is an alien? It's worse than that?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why once we get there. But I did like, as you mentioned, the Enterprise incident. I liked the Tholian web. I also kind of liked Spectre of the Gun just for how silly it was. And then the rest were just varying degrees of meh to me. So let's go ahead and get into those right away, starting with, of course, Spock's brain. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with getting what I would consider the most negative thing about this episode out of the way. Silly premise aside, I don't think this was a good season 3 opener. What I would have done is had this one swap places with the Enterprise incident.
Oh yes, absolutely.
But they didn't do that.
No.
So as a season opener, I think this one falls a little bit flat, but as an episode by itself, I liked it okay. Good character stuff out of Kirk and McCoy, and I kind of liked the aliens, how they looked like adults, humans, but acted like little kids until they got put under the we'll call it education machine. I almost said edumacation. The teacher, yeah. The edumacation machine. I like that name better.
It's basically the Krell machine from Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
I think have you watched that one yet? I know you said you were going to watch that soon.
Yeah, we were going to watch it, but I got sick last week, so it got put on hiatus.
Do not watch my review before you do your own review.
Got it.
Too late. I've already watched your review, and it's really good. That's why I want to see it.
I'm telling Paul, so Paul can.
Oh yeah,
Paul,
you can't watch it. You got to watch the movie first.
Understood. Oh, and by the way, because I forgot earlier, hello Pacific 414.
What's up, Mike?
Yep. Which, by the way, he has mentioned to me in private that he wants to talk the animated series with us. So we'll be getting him in on that.
That'll be fun. I got to find where the animated series is being streamed at. I haven't seen it for a while.
Oh, Paramount Plus probably.
Ew.
Hold on. I have Amazon Prime pulled up right now. Let me find out if it's here. Because I'd prefer to just keep it all on one streaming series.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking. The only animated show that I've seen on here so far, which I know how you're going to react to it, is Lower Deck. Wait, nope, there it is.
Okay.
Found it.
I guess I can get 30 days of Prime without feeling too guilty.
Yeah, because like I said, I thought the only show I was going to see on here animated was Lower Decks, which I know how you feel about that one. But
yes.
That's for another time.
Yes, it is.
But anyways, back to Spock's brain. So the idea that a woman beams aboard the Enterprise to literally steal Spock's physical brain. That premise alone, I know you're laughing, but what do you think of this?
Yeah. That's what happens when you run out of money, and I guess when you run out of ideas. Although, as silly as it is, I guess it could be done if you were super hyper advanced, like they act until you find out that they're just glorified kids that separated from the men and the women separated, and the women are the abusers in the relationship.
Yes, they are.
They bring
they are
pleasure
givers
and
of pain.
pain.
They are givers of pain and delight.
Yeah,
That's how well I know this episode. They're like, where are the women of your kind? Your words speak nothing. They have no idea what they have. No idea. They're like, yeah, they're very not intelligent. They're unintelligent.
Yeah.
Unless they
And
put
then-
on the teacher.
And then the ones that they do talk to are like, brain, what is brain? Just very childish.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh into the mic.
No,
like
it's
that.
good. It's good. It's good.
It is controller. It is controller. Is it not?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's exactly what she says. And then, of course, you see Spock, or you see where Spock's brain is. It's in like a black box with like a little light head, one of those little, little receptacles, and it's got like tubes sticking out all directions. He's like, I feel like I have arms that stretch out into infinity. And then Sky's like, but Spock, you don't have a body. You have none, But they didn't know that he was, they didn't know where his brain was. So,
right.
But like the McCoy had the best question for Kirk in this episode. He's like, where are you going to look in this whole galaxy? Where are you going to look for Spock's brain? How are you going to find it? And he's like, and Kirk's like, as based as he is, I'll find it. And then McCoy's like, even if you do, I can't restore it. That's beyond my expertise, beyond anyone's expertise.
The way that you describe that, with Kirk just saying, "I'll find it," you may as well have put something equally cheesy in there, like, how in this galaxy are you gonna find Spock's brain? With the power of friendship.
Where are you gonna find him at the 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
Well, how are you gonna do it? With the power of nachos.
Well, in this episode's case, the ship that she was on, they were following an ion trail. That's one thing with Star Trek. They like to follow ion trails quite a bit. That's probably the one thing that that they generally do. So, and then they go to the planet, and they go to the planet that's least likely to have them. One with the ice age, and then they beam down, and then they encounter the men, the dudes. They're throwing rocks and spears. And then there's that conversation like, oh, like you're not the others. What are the others? They're givers of pain and delight. And when I was a kid, I didn't quite get it. Let's just say when I was a kid, I didn't quite get it. And then when I was a teenager, I was like, oh, I get it.
Right.
They're being something that rhymes with drape.
Yep.
By the ladies, but this time by the ladies.
Yep.
Well, in the state that I live in, you can't commit that unless you have a specific part, and they don't have it. So not in my state.
Yeah. Changing topics from that.
Yes, let's change topic.
Pacific 414 said the Wonder Years even had a dream sequence spoofing Spock's brain.
Yep, that's exactly what I said earlier.
Yeah, I can't blame them. That's the perfect one to spoof, because it's the most insanely weird idea that they could have come up with.
Yes.
Of all the things to take, you're going to take his brain.
Well, it was them basically. It was him dreaming or him daydreaming about their girlfriends, kind of doing that to them and stuff. It was pretty wacky.
Yeah. Now, even though I liked this episode, here's where it officially jumped the shark for me. Where they're doing the surgery, and McCoy has pretty much lost all the knowledge he's gotten from the edumacation machine, and Spock starts talking, I can help you put my brain back in, since you've reconnected my vocal cords or whatever. And it's like, come on, even in space, it doesn't work like that.
And then Spock, and then again McCoy at the end of the episode is like, I shouldn't have done it. Kirk's like, what's that? I should have never reconnected his mouth. And then they play that little wacky music. And then Kirk's like, oh well, we took the risk, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
A nice little moment of levity,
Right.
But that whole idea of the teacher and the them needing that ancient knowledge was basically the Krell is basically the Krell machine. I mean, I saw this episode years before I ever even heard of Forbidden Planet. I've never seen it. So when I finally saw it, because a certain author who wrote a certain book series about, dragons and tits and other stuff said it was his favorite movie of all time. So I watched it.
George R. R. Martin?
Yes, George R. R. Martin. He actually has Robbie the Robot, by the way.
Gotcha.
So I watched it and I'm like, holy crap, Star Trek stole so much from this movie. Like so much. And I saw the Krell machine. They put on the educator. Literally, they put on the educator. I'm like, that's the Spock's brain teacher. It's the same thing.
Yep. So real quick, Action Com, welcome by the way, asks a question. Where do you think the clicking noises were coming from when Spock was on the remote?
What did you think about the clicky noises? Back then, if you've ever seen a old TV from that time, some of the first remote controls they were basically clicky. It was.
Yeah, I think I remember those.
Yeah, so that's where they got the whole thing from. Or that's the frame of reference that they had for that was based upon the TVs at the time and. Click, move.
So Spock was literally a TV, basically.
Yes,
that was a TV controller.
TV.
Okay. May as well been. So yeah, like I said, Spock's brain by itself, it's an okay, if not completely ridiculous episode. Not a good season opener, in my opinion. The next episode we're going to be talking about should have been the season opener, the Enterprise incident. And talk about a completely, what the no word opening is going on here type of thing, where Kirk is just acting crazy at everyone, and pulls which at face value is a boneheaded move crossing into Romulan space, and of course, Spock seemingly betrays him. But then again, it's all part of their plan to make everyone think that Captain Kirk is dead. And real quick, I got to interrupt this and say hello to Legendary Tron.
Tron, what's up?
Hey, Tron.
Yeah. By the way, Tron, I have started on writing your song.
Oh, look who else is here. It's clobbering time.
Oh, clobbering time.
Oh,
Clobby's
here.
here.
Clobby.
How are you? Old TV remote controls were clicky. Yeah, I think my grandparents had one once when I was really little, and it was one of those TVs that had a whole bunch of wood furniture built into the TV, and it was one of those rounded out TV screens where you hear a bit of a buzzy noise as the TV cuts on.
That would have been a vacuum tube model as opposed to a transistor based one. My grandfather had the same type thing, although his didn't have a remote control. You actually had to get up to do anything with it. But yes, you are correct. This episode should have been the season opener, and it would have been a perfect season opener. Seeing Kirk, completely go mad, disregarding all known standing orders with regards to the Romulan neutral zone and crossing into Romulan space. Although seeing the Romulans have some D7s was kind of a surprise, and of course popping out of nowhere. Yeah. But once you get into the episode and see what happens, you'll understand why.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I dare say if this episode was the season opener, it would have blown Amok Time, my favorite episode, out of the water as far as how good of a job it did opening a season.
So, fun fact, the D7, that Klingon ship, well, it was actually first shown in this episode. So the first time you see a Klingon ship is piloted by Romulans, of all things. Budget, probably a big budget reason, probably for that. So
yeah,
because we don't see the Klingon ships in Errand of Mercy or Trouble with Tribbles at all. Only in the remastered versions do we see those. So. But yeah, I agree. This episode would have been a hell of an opener for a season, and just the whole idea. I mean, this is really truly the second the second of two times that we see the Romulans in this show. I mean, we see them briefly in the Deadly Years when they're, they accidentally, when what was his name, Commodore Stalker or something, accidentally sends the Enterprise into the neutral zone and stuff, and then they're getting attacked, and then Kirk does his little Corbomite, Corbomite luff and stuff. Yeah, callback. This episode, I mean, just Kirk pretending he's crazy. He's like, "I'll get you, filthy traitor! I'll kill you!" And then he moves his arm, he moves his fist in a way. He's like, "I'll kill you!" like that.
Yeah,
I don't know Spock what it is. Just grabs his freaking face, and with one arm, just grabs his face like a face hugger, and Kirk pretends he's like dead, and he just completely freezes up, like looks up in the air, freezes up, and falls, and he has his mouth open. It's ridiculous. And then McCoy's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And he's like, Spock's like, "Oh, I accidentally used the Vulcan death grip." Right. And then McCoy's like, "Well, the captain is dead," and stuff. So, being, grouchy McCoy. And what's funny was McCoy didn't know about it until he literally got, according to the episode, he didn't know about it literally until he got beamed aboard the Romulan ship. So,
right.
And then he went along with it.
Yeah. And of course I got to talk about what Action Com says here. Vintage Shatner acting. I don't know what it is. Yep. I don't know what it is about William Shatner, but I didn't think anyone could be so good at acting crazy better than Nicolas Cage, but Will Shatner in this episode pulled it off.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He is the guy that reason why he's still alive. He's 90 years old. The reason why he's still alive, according to his tweet, is he drinks the tears of trolls. That's how crazy he is.
When 80-year-old you turn, drink the tears of trolls. You should. For about as long as
look as good. You do not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For a 90-year-old guy, he does look good. But yeah, he definitely hammed it up with this one. And you know what? Why not? It's hilarious.
So, what did you think of the way the cloaking device looked?
I thought it was okay. I really didn't think too much of it.
I just like how he just lifts it up and easily just picks it up and walks away with it. Like you figure you'd think it'd be harder to disconnect and stuff, but he just picks it up and carries it away while kicking a Romulan in the face. He does do that.
Yeah. And speaking of the Romulans, number one, the lady that they got to play the Romulan commander, even under all that Romulan makeup, she was beautiful. And number two, I'm surprised. Number two, seeing Kirk as a Romulan was hilarious. And I gotta wonder, because I know we talked about this with the Deadly Years, how Will Shatner hated that makeup. Makes me kind of wonder how he felt about the makeup this time.
I'll be honest, I have no idea. I'm guessing this was nowhere near as crazy. I mean, it's just like them applying the ears and stuff.
And the straight eyebrows.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And the makeup that goes on the the makeup that goes right under the eyebrows too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but yeah, I loved it was just the whole thing with Spock and the Romulan commander was pretty cool seeing Spock having his moment, with the female and stuff. It was pretty cool to see something like that. Yeah. And he was fooling her the whole time. So.
Yep. And speaking of, ActionCom asks, did that actress portray authority to you? I think she did great. Yeah, I think she did great too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she played a great Romulan commander. And yeah.
I'll just say this. Her character comes back in Star Trek Continues for a couple of episodes and the finale. Okay. And you know who plays the Romulan commander? Her daughter. And her daughter looks just like her.
Wow.
Yes.
So something else that ActionCom said, and you guys are going to have to help me out with this one because I don't know what this is. He says, speaking of which, Shatner has been called the male Fay Ray for having a great screen.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I lack context on that one. But
Yeah.
check out what Clobby said about the shows.
Said, actually, they always ran Trek TOS out of order. Spectre of the Gun was filmed first. Spock's brain damage was filmed sixth, I think.
He's correct. Spectre of the Gun was episode 56. Spock's Brain was episode 61. I know because the VHS tapes that I collected were in production order. So My Maneuver was episode 3. The Cage was episode 1. Where No Man's Gone Before was episode 2, and so forth. So Man Trap was episode 6. Huh?
That makes no sense to me. If that's how they produced them, why the hell didn't they show them in that fashion?
Well, because of the network. The network wanted the Man Trap to be the first episode, and Roddenberry and Justman and all those guys had they had their own ideas, and the network, making the final decision, shot them all down.
NBC needed to have their.
Well, they canceled. They canceled after season 2, and Roddenberry got a hold of Betty Jo and her husband Trimble to start a letter writing campaign to get the network to revive or renew it for season 3, and it worked. Only thing was, when they renewed it for season 3, they dropped the budget drastically. Roddenberry himself was no longer the showrunner. It was Fred Freiberger who was the showrunner. I
noticed that.
And then they moved it from 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on a Wednesday or something. I don't remember the exact time, but they moved it to the death slot, which is Friday night at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Who's going to be home for that on a Friday? It's not like All in the Family, where people will literally stay home to watch on a Saturday to watch the show. Now, I wasn't alive in the 70s. This was based on me reading up on stuff and talking to my parents and stuff. So I wasn't around for that, but yeah, it's Trek. Yeah, people weren't going to stay home to watch Trek, especially on a Friday.
Right.
And NBC, I think they did that to sabotage.
Yeah, of course they did.
Knowing what NBC is today, I don't doubt that.
One thing Doomcock did say that did interest me was that he said that the ratings were always good, but that the network just didn't like it, didn't understand it, and just they went out of their way to sabotage it. Because Doomcock has read all the These Are the Voyages novels, which goes into real hardcore detail about the production of each of the episodes and each of the seasons. Each season was a book. So
okay.
That makes sense, considering that they had just come out of the black and white era. Most of the TV shows were either cowboys and Indians, or they were all either
westerns
or cop shows or something along those lines. And it's obvious they didn't know what to think, what to make, or what to do with Star Trek. That's just the lack of foresight, just from who was running it at the time. And it is definitely sad. But there's looks like we've got some context to who Fay Wray was.
He was talking about the Shatner Scream, and Fay Wray was the female lead in the 1933 Willis O'Brien King Kong film.
The OG King Kong.
The Scream. Okay. The Kirk Scream. I can't do it. I'm sick.
All right. Makes sense. But Clobbern Times also says, I prefer production order, but DVD and Blu-ray sets and streaming services always show it in air date order.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
And then ActionCom says, funny how history repeats itself. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Star Trek Discovery. And I think Clobbern Times follows that with, that's true. No, he's following what we were talking about. That's true. The ratings were good. The network just didn't like the show.
And it's sad that there were only just the 3 networks at the time. Because had it been closer to how it is now, the odds of it actually getting the full 5 seasons probably would have been a lot better, because one of the other networks could have picked it up. But, that's just one of those.
Wait a minute. This was supposed to be 5 seasons?
Well, yeah, it's a
5-year mission. 5-year mission.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, some people would consider the animated series seasons 4 or 5. Some people, I don't know how you would balance animated series with Star Trek Continues stuff. Even though Star Trek Continues is a fan series, it's basically in my headcanon. To me, it's it's a true way to to go into the films and stuff, especially
This is
motion
the way.
picture. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, this is the way.
this is the way. All right. So, anyways, getting back on topic, the Enterprise incident should have been the season opener, but it was not. But even still, it was a great episode. I think the best one of this whole block.
Absolutely.
Episode 3, the Paradise Syndrome, the one where they go to the Native American planet and Kirk gets amnesia for touching that machine and believes that he is a Native American god. What do you guys think of this
wow,
one?
wow, chicka wow wow, bow chicka wow wow, chicka wow
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Yes.
I am Kirok. I have come. I am Kirok. Yeah, I remember that one.
This one, again, I thought it was an okay episode, but this one had a sad ending because
Yes, it did.
the girlfriend dies, and according to her, she was carrying Kirk's child.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like that's
Miramani. Yeah.
Yeah.
They there's an episode of Continues, just to kind of go off a little bit, where Kirk is like, he's undergoing some sort of psychological trauma or experience or something, and he sees like all the women in his past life, and especially Miramani was definitely one of them. So, but it was pretty
he was
sad.
married to her.
Yeah, they're married.
Because he became the medicine man. Their tradition said that since she was the daughter of the chief, she had to marry him, and
And this was all because he couldn't get back into the obelisk. I mean, they saw him come out, so they thought he was a god, and he didn't remember what he was, and so he's trying to piece together his name, and he's like Kur, and then the chief, the old chief is like Kurok.
Yes.
You are Kurok. Then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, that's right, I am Kurok. And then the medicine, they make him the medicine guy, and then he falls in love with the woman that's supposed to be promised to the medicine guy, and so the original medicine guy, Salish, I mean, imagine being in his position. You're about to get married, you're about to take on a very prominent role in the tribe. All of a sudden this person just comes in and it just takes it all away. How would you respond? Mm-hmm. You'd be angry. You want to you want revenge. You want to get him. And that's why he attacks Kirk.
Right. And by the way, Black Dragon says that episode ties into the Iconians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Iconians are like, if I remember correctly, in TNG, they have like these gateways. They're like an ancient empire. They're one of many ancient empires in Star Trek. And they had these gateways that allowed them to go anywhere they wanted. So I forget which episode. I think there was a DS9 episode.
Yeah.
The Dominion tried to seize an Iconian gateway or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was.
A Jem'Hadar group tried to, and that was the first time you actually see Wei Yun, and Wei Yun gets his gets blasted pretty good.
Yeah.
I got that.
But that doesn't stop them from bringing him back, because this is science fiction.
Exactly.
Right.
Plus, I can't remember his name. Jeffrey Combs. He's so good.
Jeffrey Combs is amazing.
Yes.
They not only had him in one role in Deep Space Nine, they had him in another role in Deep Space Nine. He also played Brunt, the Liquidator. Yep. And then he was in Voyager. He was in an episode. Remember the episode with The Rock? He was the head. He was basically the Vince McMahon of that wrestling ship. He was basically Vince McMahon. And then in Enterprise, he plays Shran the Andorian.
And he plays a damn good Andorian.
Yes, he was.
I gotta ask: Does this Vince McMahon character, does he actually say something like "You're fired" like Vince does?
I don't remember. I'd have to rewatch the episode. But this was like at the height of like SmackDown. This was like 2000, I think. Season 6. So this was like 2000.
Wasn't The Rock in this?
Yeah. The Rock was fight 7 of 9.
I remember that.
Yeah, the episode was called Sunkatse, season 6.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that then.
Yes.
By the way, hello to Austin Dwyer. Thanks for coming.
He is one of my mods.
Nice. Black Dragon says that the Iconians are also a major storyline in Star Trek Online.
Yes, they are.
Which one? Because
we need Spock here for this.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm currently playing through that because I want to know.
It's a little further in. It's been a while since I've played completely through. I actually have 2 admirals at level 50 back when level 50 was the cap, but the furthest that I had got with it before I stopped was the original Romulan story arc. But it's a little further than that. But yeah, STO, I rather like it. It's
So far I'm liking it too, and we can talk about it a little bit more after we're done talking about the episodes while we're waiting for Michael. ActionCom asks, what about the drama that was playing out on the ship where Spock was starving himself? Was he starving himself?
Yes.
I didn't notice that.
Well, he was locked up. He was really trying to decipher the obelisk, because it really piqued his interest. I mean, they went to I mean, while Kirk is having his amnesia, there's an asteroid coming to take that planet out. So the Enterprise had to leave. So they had to leave Kirk behind to intercept the asteroid and take it out. And Spock fails. So there's a little bit of guilt. So there's a lot of characterization for Spock and McCoy in this episode too. So I really like that sentiment. But but Spock's been holed away, basically trying to decipher the obelisk, while the ship is basically coasting with the asteroid back to the planet. Because they overshot. They used too much of their power on the phasers,
and it burned out the warp drive.
Yeah,
that warp drive in that thing is really, really touchy.
It is
very touchy.
You have to raise the stakes somehow, so that's what they do.
Yeah,
always have Scotty saying she can't handle anymore. Scotty, I need it in 1 hour. So,
yeah. And let's see, Clobber in Time says it was the preservers who put the obelisk on the planet.
Yes.
Right.
So there's a book series that William Shatner himself wrote. And the last book in the series called Preserver. It's basically, let's just say Kirk and his mirror counterpart have to find the secret of the preservers to overcome some threat or something. I read the books. I forgot them. That's.
You're talking about his mirror counterpart from the Terran Empire.
Yes. So in his books, in the books they call him Tiberius, and he becomes the Emperor. So you remember the alliance, the Cardassian and Klingon alliance.
Yeah.
Well, somehow Tiberius, evil Kirk, is the Emperor of this alliance. I think. I don't remember. It's a weird thing, but this was Shatner. Shatner, with the help of a few other people, wrote these books to. He kind of regretted some of the decisions that were made in Generations. I won't say what, but let's just say something happened in Generations.
Yeah,
okay.
Like everything.
Yeah, that'll future review for another time. But anyways, let's see what else. Black Dragon, talking about Star Trek Online, says, I have 18 characters at level 65, which is the new cap, and they're running a temporal agent event right now.
Nice.
So anyone that has never played Star Trek Online, I highly recommend it as someone that's new to playing it myself.
I have not.
Like, I dare say, and I told you guys this in our Twitter chat, I'm liking it more than I like Star Wars The Old Republic as far as how it controls.
I prefer it back before all the massive expansions. I've got 2 of them at level 50 when I stopped, but I've got several hundred hours in it versus I've tried to play the Old Republic, and once you get off the starter world and get to where you can branch out and not be fully on just the story path. It just never worked for me.
Yeah. And Godzillionaire, welcome by the way, asks, Star Trek Online for PC or is it mobile? It's PC.
It's on PC, and if I remember correctly, it is also on PS4 and on the Xbox, because it is free to play.
Oh, it's Xbox.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they did port it to both of those. It is free to play, but if you do subscribe, there is a lifetime option. If you get it, you get all sorts of fancy perks, and you can of course purchase extra starships. And I've actually got a few fancy starships that I love.
So
like,
do you only play on a starship, or do you actually control a person like in
You play a
KOTOR?
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do play a person.
Spock,
Yeah.
Spock
I'd say-
Oh.
I'd say, hello Spock, by the way. I'd say the split from what I've seen so far playing it is 60-40 person to ship what you're playing. 60% of the time you're playing a person, 40% of the time you're playing a ship. Would that sound about right, Spock?
Which game is this?
Star Trek
Your
Online.
game.
Oh. Well, it's actually funny you guys are talking about that. They just released a new episode, so it's based on the Mirror universe. It's pretty cool.
Another
Cool.
one. Ooh.
Yeah, it's based on the Lita story that they're working on. Not a huge fan about it, but it's way better than what Kurtzman's doing with the Mirror universe.
Does
But,
it cover
okay.
New Trek at all online?
It
Sorry?
does have some.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has.
Does it cover any Trek? Of course, yeah, it covers a lot. I think even in the earlier missions called Ragnarok, you get to play with Pavel Chekhov and Scotty as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the best character ever, Michael Burnham?
No,
There
I
is
don't
a
remember
mission
Michael Burnham.
in an arc called Age of Discovery where you're talking to Seven of Nine, and then Michael Burnham just comes out of nowhere behind a rock. She's like, "Well, I'm here to help too."
Then she takes over.
Pretty much. But yeah, you guys are about right on that because there is a lot of ship battles, but there is also a lot of ground battles too. It's kind of like a 60-40 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Spock, I know you're late getting in here. We are talking, of course, about episodes 1 through 10 of
Indeed.
season 3. We just finished talking about episode 3, so I'm just going to sort of rapid fire you. Episodes 1 through 3, your thoughts on those. So those are Spock's Brain, the Enterprise Incident, and the Paradise Syndrome.
Well, Spock's brain, if I remember correctly, it was when, I forget, an intruder steals Spock's identity?
No,
Brain.
like his physical brain.
Oh, right. Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen that one. I think
Yeah.
if
They took your
anything-
brain, man.
How
Of course
was
he
that,
would
by the
remember
way?
That's probably why I don't remember it. But I think the one I really remember is when the Enterprise crossed into the neutral zone, which was, I believe, Enterprise Incident,
Yes.
and they first encountered the Romulans again. I believe. I think this is the second time they've encountered them.
Yeah, I mean, Balance of Terror was obviously the first.
Correct.
Right.
But yeah, this if you guys also watch Star Trek Continues, the cast that they chose for, I forget the female Romulan's name. She looks exactly like her. It's kind of
It was her
crazy.
daughter.
Yeah, that's because it's her daughter.
Oh, okay. Wow.
By the way, she recently passed away, Joanne Linda,
Aw.
who played the Romulan commander. So,
Rest in peace.
yeah.
Nice. By the
So
way,
when I was in Vegas, and I saw some people that worked on the original series, to me it was just a freaking honor because we're losing them left and right because they're up there in age and stuff. So
Yeah.
right.
That they are.
And you got Duhan's son as well playing as Scotty, so
yeah, Chris Duan, yeah, that's true.
Nice.
it's.
By the way,
if anyone hasn't seen that, definitely recommend it.
Hell yeah.
Spock, I think you have an echo.
I do. Let me see.
All right, so yeah, he muted himself. So yeah, it had to have been him. Is everything okay over there on your end, man?
Okay, is it a bit better?
Let's see. Unmute yourself while I'm still talking, and we'll find out. And real quick, while he's doing that, Godzillionaire, do it. I know this is Tuesday Night Trek. This isn't a Star Wars show, but do it. But yeah,
is it a bit better?
I still heard it.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I didn't hear it that time.
Oh, okay. Maybe I fixed it. I
Okay,
think
Yeah,
my
you all
we're
sound
good.
fine to
too
me,
loud.
so
That's fine. All right, and then Spock, the last one, Paradise Syndrome, the one where
Paradise
Kirk
Syndrome.
becomes, yeah, the
That's
Indian
actually an
medicine man.
interesting one. Yeah, that one is it's pretty good because he falls in love with the Native American woman, I believe, and
Right.
I believe this is one where he didn't really have much control over what was happening to him because it almost wiped his memories because it was almost putting him in a position where he was starting his life again from the beginning, and he is worshipped or believed to have been a god because they see him come out of the statue.
Right.
It is an interesting episode for sure. Definitely requires a rewatch. I will honestly say I haven't seen season 3 for quite a bit, but it is probably one of the best episodes in this season. I could be wrong.
It's got a lot. It's got a lot of great Spock moments,
It does.
Yeah,
especially
it
when
does.
because he holds himself and he fails to destroy the asteroid that's gonna hit that planet. And like I was saying earlier, he basically holds himself in his room. He doesn't eat, and he's trying to figure out what the language of the obelisk is. So, and then we find out it's the preserver. He figures out. I think it's him that figures out. Oh, it was the preservers. That lived long ago and seeded each planet with saved the races from different cultures
Right.
that were about to be extinct. So Native Americans was one. So those Native Americans were originally from Earth. So I thought that aspect of it was pretty interesting.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's really interesting because they were saved technically from extinction. Because what we know that a lot of Native Americans were killed in our history because of, land and all of that. So that's my favorite thing about Star Trek. They, especially in Voyager, they just take out, all of the mysteries and they turn them into like some kind of sci-fi um kind of story, like the missing appearance of Amelia Earhart turns into like an alien abduction in Voyager.
Oh, they had
I like
as far as I'm concerned, whenever people talk about Amelia Earhart, I'm saying, oh, we know where she is. She's in the Delta Quadrant.
Yep.
right. It's I like when Star Trek does that. It's just makes things a lot more interesting. In the original series, a lot of people don't like it, and that's because it's not everyone's a big fan of Greek mythology, and that's completely understandable. I just like that the original series turns the Greek gods into aliens that visit Earth just to take care of humanity and require worship. I just love episodes like these, the Paradise Syndrome, where it's just a whole sci-fi kind of explanation for what happened to these incidents. It's kind of interesting. It's hard to explain.
Right. So let's see some comments. It also proves that tricorders can do video.
Yeah.
I mean, our phone is basically smartphones based off of the tricorder kind of,
yeah.
and then the old flip phone was based off the communicator.
I believe it. All right, so now that we're all caught up, let's move on to the real crap. And the children shall lead. This is, I'm not joking, my least favorite Star Trek, the original series episode out of all of them. Yes, I dislike it worse, since you asked, Brandon, than the ending of Wolf in the Fold. Because, like I've said before, take the ending out of it. I think Wolf in the Fold is an interesting episode. The ending just ruins it. For me, and the children shall lead, I didn't like the entire episode because the premise of kids being controlled by an evil force, I mean, let's call him, he may as well be called a demon once you see what his true form is. That bothers me on a very deep level.
Well, it makes me glad that I skipped it then. So, confession, I haven't seen it, and if that's the case, demons controlling kids, that's a hard pass for me. I can't.
Okay, so I'll give a bit of a cliff notes of what the plot is. So, the crew of the Enterprise beam down to this small colony planet and find that all the adults are dead. They've killed themselves. The children are still alive, and at first they seem like normal kids, albeit a completely oblivious. They're completely oblivious to the danger. And
Right.
come to find out, there's this entity. I don't know if they actually came up with what the name of this entity was. I think they called it Gorgon at the end,
Yeah,
but I don't know
that's
what.
its name. That's
Yeah.
that's what they call it. So we don't
Right.
find out what it actually is.
Yeah, but it's this green ghost of an older man that's telling the kids, "We're going to take over this planet. All of our friends are there, and our enemies must be destroyed." Well, it turns out, at least from what I gathered, all the enemies are adults. And so the kids get taken aboard the Enterprise and start screwing with everything on the Enterprise they can, literally by just doing rock, paper, scissors, but not showing, rock, paper, or scissors. But I know you mentioned this earlier, Brandon, I think in the private discussion we was having just before on the air. But yeah, them just doing this all the time to get what they wanted, it was like, we've seen this enough. Stop doing that already, right?
Yeah. Wasn't the Gorgon named Kevin Spacey? Oh, man.
He kind of looked like him.
Oh.
No, that was
Plus
the
like
famous.
100 pounds.
Yeah, that was famous. That was the famous prosecutor. I think he was a judge or prosecutor. His name was Melvin Belli. He was a pretty famous, I don't know if he was a lawyer or he was a judge or something, but he spoke directly to the what do you call it, the killer, the Zodiac killer. When the Zodiac killer when the Zodiac killer was on a radio show, he wanted to talk to him in person. They never found out who the Zodiac killer was in San Francisco.
Wow.
But they based the killer Scorpio from Dirty Harry off of the Zodiac. So, and what's funny was I recognized because I saw the movie Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal. I recognized the name because he was the Gorgon. He was the Gorgon in this episode. How would I know? Because I owned the Star Trek encyclopedia, so I knew everything.
I believe it. But yeah.
But yeah, like this whole thing of brainwashing kids because kids are what's a good word, impressionable and stuff. They'll follow you and stuff. It's a little too relevant, and like you said, it's a little too.
What Austin Dwyer says
scary.
here. What Austin Dwyer says here.
Mm-hmm.
But,
it's like a prediction of modern day Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, easily not my favorite episode.
Yeah,
the
and
fish
also,
shaking.
oh, go ahead.
The fish, like when they would like shake their fist and the camera would have to like move dramatically with it, and like they're doing like a rock paper scissors kind of thing going on. It was really weird.
So they basically made people. They basically controlled the crew, I guess. Like they made Sulu see swords in the view screen, and Uhura was seeing a reflection of herself dying, or as an old lady, in the process of dying. And then the engineers in the engineering section, like every time they said, "Hey, wait a minute, we're not orbiting the planet." So they beamed two red shirts down to the planet without them knowing that they left orbit.
Yeah, what he's saying here.
So yeah, exactly. So not the best. Yeah. I just sent two to their deaths. Oh no!
The perspective of those poor guys are just floating in space.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it took Kirk and the crew a little bit longer than usual to really find out what's going on and put a stop to this. Maybe they were a little bit hesitant in the story because it's kids and all, but at the same time, like, come on, you're smarter than this. You should be able to figure out a way to stop this situation much sooner.
Yeah, Kirk would not have left. See, here's the thing. Kirk was on the bridge. The young Tommy Starnes kid was on the bridge. He's like, "Can I stay?" To me, Kirk would never have let him even be on the bridge, or at least because if you see TNG, Picard is like super strict about no children on the bridge. Remember Encounter Farpoint?
Oh yeah, he's like, I want to present an image of geniality, but
exactly.
I do not like to hang out with kids.
And
Yep.
since we barely see Kirk with kids, you're like, you'd be like, I mean, it's just kind of mind blowing that he would leave the kid on the bridge, with the
Right.
rest of the crew. Not that, he didn't know that they had this ability, but at the same time, it's a bit irresponsible.
I will give this episode this though. There is one scene that I think worked and was a little bit heartwarming, and that was seeing the kids get genuinely excited about the ice cream, and Kirk sit down with them, being like, "Hey guys, can I join you?"
Yeah.
That
I like that.
that was a good moment, but the rest of the episode was a fail to me.
Yeah.
And Action Com, by the way, mentions worst moment when Kirk beamed down. Wait, we read
Yes.
that one. And then they left the two on the planet behind. They forgot about them. Did they?
They might have went back. Who knows? But yeah, they just kind of ended. Here's the thing: a lot of season 3, they kind of end the episode without resolving everything. Like the
Yes.
episode Mark of Gideon kind of did that, and I found that episode kind of unsatisfying. Yeah, they kind of they do this a couple of times in this season, so there's a reason why people dislike season 3
Right.
compared to the other two.
So I think we've said pretty much all that we can say about And the Children's Style Lead.
And this was a decade.
bad-
This was a decade before Jonestown and drinking the Kool-Aid and stuff going on right now in our schools.
right.
Mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily say skip, but I wouldn't consider this one also a must-see episode. See it if you want to, but if you feel like it would be in your best interest to skip, I applaud you for that. So, episode 5, is there in truth no beauty?
This
this is-
trippy one.
Yeah.
Nice.
And holy
See Pulaski.
wide angle lens Batman with this episode. Holy wide angle lens Batman. Because they use some really wacky camera angles in this one, especially toward the end when Spock was going a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But that aside, I thought this was a decent episode. You have this being that's, what's the term, incorporeal?
They're
Yes.
Medusans.
Yeah,
Incorporeal.
where you look where they are so where personality wise they're the sweetest beings out there, but they look so gosh darn ugly that if you look at them even once you go crazy, as we see in this episode. And that seemed like an interesting idea to myself, but the fact that Spock specifically is able, because he's half Vulcan, to withstand that somewhat, I thought was pretty cool. And I got to talk about the twist of this episode, because I really did not see this coming. The fact that that Dr. Jones was blind,
Yeah.
because I didn't see
Yes.
that coming at all.
Yeah,
And
her
dress
suit.
is like what's super cool. Like it just detects. It's way more advanced than what we have, because she even was able to calculate how
Hey,
far
Tim.
he is in front of him, how like how far away the door is. It's super accurate. It's almost like she doesn't even need eyes. That was
She was
like
Right.
She's kind of like Geordie LaForge a little bit, because Geordie
Yeah.
LaForge is
Oh.
blind, but because he has the visor, he can see better than everybody else.
No, you're right though. It's just like Geordie. It's interesting how her dress is just that accurate that
It's the
everyone was
gems, right?
fooled.
I think it's the gems, the jewels in her dress that act as like sensors or something for her to be able
Yeah.
to see. Interesting.
She's like Palpatine. She fooled everyone.
Yeah. But
Well, that explains how come she could work with them.
right. And why she was able to look into the box with no visor on and be completely fine. So,
Yeah, she really wanted to know what everyone else was seeing that caused people to go insane. Because
right.
obviously she had no frame of reference to note that. So what was interesting was, and this is the second time we see it, they're in like a dining hall, like a dining mess hall, and they're having dinner. The first time we see it is in Space Seed when they have a dinner for Khan, welcoming him to the 23rd century. Well, they have something similar for her, and they're all like toasting her, and they're all praising her. Now back then, this stuff would be very normal. A bunch of men, you're paying tribute to a lady who is basically doing a job that nobody else wants to do because it could be, dangerous, dealing with a Medusan. But in this case, they're all praising her, saying how great she is. Nowadays, if you see this in entertainment, it's a big, massive red flag, like for a particular type of character that Disney likes to promote all the time in Marvel and Star Wars and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Especially, like, here's my take on that. For me, it depends on their intent for why they have that scene in. If they have that scene in, at least for me, and they're just doing it, because, hey, why not? Fine. But if they're doing it to push an agenda, like female empowerment and such, that's when it becomes a problem for me. I probably didn't communicate that right, but you know what I mean.
It's interesting that she's a human. No, yeah. At least I think she's a human, right? I think, she's also a telepath. Yeah. So I don't think they've never really followed up on human telepaths in Star Trek. Where they really do human telepaths is in Babylon 5.
Babylon 5, good example. Yeah.
And the actor that plays Chekhov plays like a Gestapo. He plays like a literal Gestapo agent of the Psi Corps. Yep, the Psi Corps.
They scare the crap out of me.
Because they can scan you. They can scan you and know what you're thinking and stuff.
How prejudiced they are too. They're like, oh, we're just better and superior. I'm like, God dang, you guys are mean.
Yeah, I mean,
I believe it.
He's wearing a black suit, a Gestapo-like suit, or like an SS-like suit, and he wears leather gloves. If he wears leather gloves, if any character wears leather gloves, they're automatically evil in my book.
Understandable. So, real quick, ActionCom says, isn't this a wholly sci-fi idea that there are some things our human brains can't process? That's why, and you guys might have to help me out with this, that's why there's a hotel room in 2001, and G Continuum is a road.
I don't know what G Continuum is,
G
right?
Continuum, but yeah, he's right, because there is a lot of things that, especially in the later shows of Star Trek, where they kind of expand on this idea of things we just cannot comprehend. So we see them in other forms, like the Q Continuum happens to just be a strip of road on like a desert. And I'm not sure what he means by hotel in 2001, though.
I can do this. The hotel. Well, I didn't when I saw the lights. When the Medusan opens up, when Kolos opens up the container, and you see like flashy lights and stuff. 2001. There's a segment where the main character Bowman goes into a monolith. And he accesses a Stargate, and he starts seeing lights. He goes into it's like a wormhole, and he starts seeing lights come towards him and stuff. It's a famous segment. There's no dialogue, and you see so many lights moving in different directions and stuff. And this is like beyond comprehension. This is beyond the character's comprehension. And he's as you're seeing the lights, you see him, and he's freaking out, like he's shaking, he's having seizures, and the colors of his eyes, his pupils, or the color of his eyes continually change. They change filters throughout the segment, and then it ends with him being in a weird 19th century or really ritzy looking hotel room and stuff. And I'm not going to go far. I don't want to spoil the movie, but basically that's where he ends up. Don't ask me why. This is from the mind. This is from the crazy mind of Stanley Kubrick. And he never explained why he made the types of story or movie decisions that he made. So people debate about this to this day.
Yeah. 2001 it's out there, and
it's a great movie. I love it, but
it's an absolutely fantabulous movie. Paul, you definitely have got to see it. But it definitely has only 20. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's got different meanings for different people, and The one thing, like with my grandfather, he was fairly religious and things, and he always equated the monoliths to basically God or the hand of God. So I that's what I see when I see the movie, but
Yeah,
it is absolutely worth seeing.
it is. I mean, here's the thing though. It's one of those movies where it's mostly visual. There's only very little. There's very little. There's only like 20 minutes worth of dialogue in the movie, and you can't even really hear the dialogue that well.
Yeah, so make sure
Like,
that you've got your absolute best TV set, the best version of that film that you can watch it, because yeah, it's a visual feat.
and it's. I mean,
Okay.
it's like it's somewhat of an existential horror in some ways, if you really think about it. You know, being in space alone, and you have a homicidal computer. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to, spoil that.
Right. It's fine. It's fine. Um, let's see. Action Cop says Kubrick said aliens wouldn't show their true selves because humans would go insane, so they would give us something we could handle, like a room or a road, something familiar. Okay, fair enough.
Logical.
So-
Logical.
Yeah. Now, before we move on to the next episode, one last thing we got to talk about: the mind fusion, I think it's called, that Spock does with this Medusan, and then number one, the process getting into the mind meld and getting out of it. What'd you guys think of that? Especially him getting out of it and the little bit of craziness that he got from it.
I mean, it was kind of like I remember when Spock was helping Kirk with his amnesia and stuff. I'm thinking it's kind of the same thing, but this time it was
Right.
Dr. Jones. That was Dr. Miranda Jones. I don't want to confuse her with Indy. Dr. Miranda Jones was helping Spock, reclaim some of his sanity because she studied in Vulcan. She studied in Vulcan. She learned how to use her telepathy, or she learned how to shut out others because she couldn't control her telepathy. So
Right.
it was one of those things. Like imagine, like being a Jedi and stuff, and you have to. Big part of learning, and then they reveal this in Empire is that you have to. The big part of learning is how to control your abilities
Right.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's the same type of thing. She has to control her telepathy because if she doesn't, she's going to hear everybody and everything, and that's just that'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to shut people out.
Now, real quick, Godzillionaire says, kind of like the eldritch horror of H.P. Lovecraft, seeing the old great ones drives humans insane.
Yeah.
I could see that. And speaking of insane, the one guy that does go insane in this episode, that was another really wide angle lens heavy scene there. But again, the way he did it, he did a good job of acting crazy.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Larry Marvick basically he's jealous. This whole episode plays out because he's jealous of
Right.
the ambassador because he wants love and affection from Dr. Jones, and she basically being like she's pretty much, even though she's a human, she's very Vulcan like.
Mhm.
She has literally no interest in him or anybody. And he tries to kill, or he tries to do something to the ambassador, and the ambassador simply opens his thing. That's a weapon. Just open your freaking thing and just show yourself, and that's a weapon in itself. You drive the other person crazy, and
Right.
he runs to the engineering room, and I don't exactly understand what he does, but he somehow takes them to the edge, beyond the edge of the galaxy. And
Right.
we for the third time we see the intergalactic barrier.
Yes. Which
And
I got to talk about that for a second, because this was the first episode that I really noticed that somehow the version of Star Trek that I had been watching this whole time on Amazon Prime got switched on me. Because before I was watching the normal stuff where it looked like the Enterprise was just a prop floating along a starry background, but now I'm seeing a fully CGI Enterprise actually flying through space.
Oh, you got the
And-
remasters. Yep.
Yeah, So somehow they switched that up on me, and it was a bit of a shock at first, but I definitely say this is a change for the better.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like, this
personally
is-
really enjoy them because I was upset hearing that a lot of them are going to be taken off Netflix and moved on to Paramount Plus since that's their new streaming service. And
Mhm.
I already own like 4 different streaming services, so once that happens, I'm going to have to cancel Netflix because I already own a lot of them on VHS, but they're not the remastered ones that they made because I'm really enjoying this CGI they made with the original series. It looks like the same.
Yeah,
Like it's still like
It looks
very
good.
same. Yeah, very good.
yeah. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
it fits.
oh, go ahead. Yeah, in my opinion, what they've done with these CGI is what the special editions of the original trilogy should have been. Just a little
Right.
bit of touch up here and there instead of going in and adding all the CGI crap into Mos Eisley, adding that one dinosaur needlessly blocking the whole camera as the stormtroopers are approaching Luke and Ben and the droids. Greedo shooting first, the pointless Jabba scene. Yeah, and of course the ear-splittingly annoying musical number in Jabba's palace. But then again, the original wasn't that good either, in my opinion.
I actually mentioned that I actually compared them in my video, my Star Trek video. Like, fans were actually happy with what they did with Star Trek as opposed to, all the backlash that fans gave the special editions. And what's funny was the special editions came out when I was a kid. I was unaware that fans were upset about that until I saw this movie called The People versus George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was just the prequels that everybody had a problem with, but no, this extends further back to when the special editions came out, and that precedes the prequels by a couple of years.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they do. But yeah, what they did for the original series, as far as the special effects goes, to me it fits perfectly. And I've got the first season on DVD, and I need to get them on Blu-ray. Spock, that's what I would recommend to do, is go grab the Blu-ray versions of them and hard
I'm
copy
going-
them to your
Good.
computer.
I'm going
Definitely.
to for sure. So,
Save me from subscriptions.
see you later,
Yeah,
Matt
exactly.
Cave, but check Discord when you get the chance because I'm going to want you to come in here when we talk Terminator 2 because Michael, I just got confirmation, has finished it. So we are going to sort of double time through these last couple episodes so that Michael's not staying up too late.
That works for me.
So, Spectre of the Gun. As you guys said, this one was the one that they filmed first through season 3, and you can kind of tell. I want to say that what little budget they had left for season 3, a good chunk of that went into this episode, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of the way the Melkoshian looked? It was like a floating head.
Yeah, that was
Basically.
weird.
It was weird. Everything about this was very weird. Although
Mhm.
in the special edition, the probe that they designed for it was really, really nice looking and all
Yeah,
that.
it was.
But basically being told to go away, we don't want anything to do with you. We show up anyways. Hey, why'd you show up anyways? Now we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, this was basically
Exactly.
a repeat or a rehash of the Corbomite maneuver plot because they encounter
Yeah, it was.
buoy. I think I don't remember if they destroy this one, but they get past it and then they're in trouble. Only difference is instead of them just being on the ship, they're on a planet with a Wild West set.
Yes. And another thing I got to point out, having seen Tombstone before this, I'm surprised that they made Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil Earp as the bad guys in this episode. That was definitely a interesting
twist.
That was a definitely interesting twist. Though the people that they got to play them, I think, didn't do that good a job to me.
Oh no, they were not the prettiest of people, but I can kind of see it. The Earps were they were pushing their luck in a lot of ways, and it wouldn't surprise me that some of the townsfolk did prefer the Clanton gang or the Clanton boys over them.
I believe it.
How did
So-
I forgot how there was the Wyatt Earp and that Kevin Costner did, and then of course there's Tombstone.
Yeah,
Yes.
How did people in the town feel about them in those movies? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I think obviously both of those movies are biased toward Wyatt Earp and his family being the good guys. But of course, both movies portrayed Wyatt Earp and his crew very differently. The Kevin Costner one sort of portrayed Earp with as a little bit more unsure and a little bit more emotional, but Val Kilmer, not Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell portrayed him as more sure of himself and more gung ho.
The truth lies buried in a shroud of glory. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
It's all lost to history.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think what's funny was the episode made us believe that they all get killed in the gunfight at the OK Corral, but the thing is, like, I think it's only the two McClary brothers that get killed. I don't think Clan does not get killed, and I don't think Billy Claiborne in the episode they say Billy Claiborne survives was Chekhov, and they shoot Chekhov. And so what would we find out? We find out, I don't know how I forget how Spock ascertains this, but apparently like they cannot believe that the guns or the weapons in this simulation can kill. Because if there's any shred of doubt, it would be enough to kill. But then we find out later that Chekhov never really died anyways. You know, they just kind of put him back. So it was like okay. This was one of those odd episodes with odd endings that decided to bring, you know, if you kill a character, just bring them back. You know, they're aliens; they can do it.
The closest thing that I can think of this was the episode Shore Leave. Remember when McCoy gets impaled by that knight and his lance?
Yeah, that's right.
He's like,
it's almost like the Matrix in a way. You got to believe that there is no spoon.
So, episode 7, Day of the Dove, where we see Kang, and I think he's the third of the triumvirate that we've
third of the Klingon triumvirate.
That's it. Michael. That's Michael and Sarah.
Yep.
Yeah. So remind me again. We got Kang. Who's the other two again that we saw earlier?
Kor and Koloth.
Yep.
Kor and Koloth. Yes. Kor was in Errand of Mercy. Yes. Koloth was in Trouble with Tribbles, and now we have Kang. So I think Kang, the guy that played him, did a great job. I noticed that the Romulans this time looked way more dark-skinned than they did in the last 2 episodes that they were featured in. Did you guys notice that?
You mean the Klingons.
Oh, yeah, the Klingons. Sorry. Get them mixed up.
Yeah, they put a lot more, what do you call that stuff on them? That stuff that can darken your skin and stuff. I forget what they call it.
Shoe polish.
Shoe polish. There you go. Shoe polish. Can't get away with that now.
No, you definitely couldn't do that now. And actually, ActionCom makes a good point. DeForest Kelley was a Western actor, so
he played Morgan Earp. He plays Morgan Earp in the 1957 gunfight at the OK Corral. You know, alongside trying to remember who was in the movie. It was Robert Mitchum and Burt Lancaster, I think. I don't remember who exactly was in it, but yeah.
Yeah. So the premise of Day of the Dove is that Klingons and, of course, the crew of the Enterprise are all on the same ship together, and there's this alien entity that looks like a big ball of light that somehow exists by feeding off of other people's hatred, and everyone's got swords, which that was really fun to see as someone that's a really big sword fan. But the way that they end it, I thought was pretty cool, where they're like, okay, we have to purposefully not fight each other and be on good terms in order to defeat this thing. But what I think you, Brian, talked about before, where some episodes just kind of end without really resolving the issue, this was definitely one of those, because the episode ends before you even have time to say, wait a minute, how are they going to get the Klingons off the ship?
Well, I mean, the entity left the ship, so they were able to regain control. So
Right.
I mean, yeah, so I basically put two and two together. They basically were able to regain control and release because the entity was causing everybody's attitudes. It was causing the change in material. That's why they couldn't get to, like, 400 people were trapped below decks to even out, because there were 40 Klingons. So 40 Klingons versus 40 humans. And I mean, this entity was basically like almost all powerful. Like it could heal you, like like every time they were wounded, they got healed right away, and then so that they could, fight some more, and be angry some more, hate some more, and stuff. But yeah,
Right.
they simply, I'm figuring they were able to take back control, and they took the Klingons to a colony, to one of their colonies, and that's how I think ended the episode. I mean, the episode was basically they had to get rid of that entity to
Yeah.
be free of it.
Spock, Brandon, you guys thoughts?
This was a very intense episode because it's another instance we get to see the tension between Klingons and the Federation. But it gets even more intensified, right? Because this alien messes with the emotional centers of the brain, so it makes you guys get angrier, so that it
Yeah.
feeds on that anger, almost like a Sith.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, I mean, Spock nearly attacked Scotty, or was
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he nearly attacked Scotty, and Kirk's trying to stop
Could
him.
have killed him too,
And
No,
Exactly.
what was the thing that he said just before he did that? Something about how I find you humans to constantly be an irritant or something, right?
I
right, yeah.
forget. I forget exactly. I have to rewatch that one, but yeah, he
That
said something
sounds
like
like
that.
something he would say.
He's like,
And
"Spock."
yeah, if
Because
his emotional,
Scotty called him a half breed, and
oh,
you don't call Spock a half breed.
no, you
No.
don't.
Like,
Yeah, that'll
especially
trigger him.
what's funny was in the episode where Little Girl's made of, right before they're about to duplicate Kirk, he's on that little spinning carousel where they create the android. He says, "Mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your half-breed interference." And he kept saying it so that the android would repeat that to Spock, and Spock would realize, oh, there's something wrong. He would not have called me that.
Right.
But yeah, but going back to, Scotty says that to Spock, and that's where the whole thing starts. So there was a lot of
Yeah.
tension there. I mean, that bridge thing was freaking crazy.
Yeah. And Austin Dwyer saying a Spock Freudian slip calling the humans that. Yeah, I can see that. And then Action Com says they should have brokered a peace with the entity, have the thing hang around a wrestling or MMA arena he could feed for a lifetime. True, just don't send him to a modern day WWE arena.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Oh,
have
yeah,
lasted
that
very
would be-
long.
That would be terrible.
All you gotta do now is send them to a debate.
Yeah,
Just
Chekhov
a
was
presidential
Oh,
debate now.
Lord. Oh,
Chekhov was
Lord.
going nuts this episode.
He was.
I think he
And
had,
this
like,
was
a
not the first
freak out.
episode. This isn't the
No,
only
it
episode
wasn't.
he had to freak out, so
Yes, and we're gonna get to it, right? Is that
we
next?
will, yes. It's the one after next.
Okay.
So next one is For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. And this one, of course, starts out with the shocking news that McCoy has a deadly disease that, at least at the beginning of the episode, there is no cure for. So what do you guys think about that sort of opening for the episode?
I think this was a wonderful episode. I mean, this was one of those few episodes that McCoy was basically the star of the episode.
Right.
Right.
And
that's-
so
yeah.
it's basically about McCoy trying to, be thankful for the time he has left, and he ultimately decides to move on, and he stays with the people on the asteroid ship Yanada.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what's funny is the people on the asteroid don't know that they're in space. And
Right.
they make it. There's an Orville episode where they literally copied the premise of this episode and did something similar. But let's just add some 1984, totalitarian segments, and that'll be an episode. But that's the Orville. That's for a different. That's a story for another time.
I remember
Right.
which episode you're talking about too.
It was season 1. It was like episode 3 or 4 or something.
But yeah,
So-
this is a good one.
The one old man that says the line that is the title, For the World is a Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. He was talking about how he climbed up the mountains, which is forbidden, and I'm guessing when he got to the top, he basically saw space. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, great episode, great stuff from McCoy. Kirk and
like you
Spock were.
said, it's like, sorry to interrupt, but it's like what
That's fine.
Nercorio said. This one's very centered around McCoy, and I know a lot of people's problems. It's a very unique issue that some people have with the original series, but they don't like that Kirk has a lot of screen time. I mean, that's understandable, but I also get that why this one is a most beloved episode, because we only get McCoy really, and that's important. Because you see that in a lot of the next Star Trek shows, single character development on, and doesn't even have to be on the captain. It's like based on the ensigns and the lieutenants, building like a story for them. And I appreciate what they did with McCoy in this one. It was very down to earth.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one. That's the only issue I have with the original series is that it doesn't really do what TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise do, where they
And you're not wrong.
they have character. They each character. Each member of the cast has his own episode.
Right.
I'll say this though: some are better than others. Like Deanna Troi has the worst episodes of all the characters in all the shows. In my
O'Brien
opinion.
must
I agree with you on
suffer.
that one, yeah.
O'Brien must suffer.
Yeah,
O'Brien must suffer.
Well, I call that "Let's Torture O'Brien" episodes. I just watched one. I watched the episode Tribunal, where it's once again, your Cardassians. Is very they run a very 1984 type society. Their justice system is very similar, and yeah, I don't want to go further into this rabbit hole since we're not talking about Deep Space Nine.
I have to confess, I didn't see this episode, but if it's a McCoy-centric one, I'll take the time and watch it and enjoy
It's worth it.
It's another one of those episodes where there's a computer controlling the asteroid ship, and it's basically controlling the people. Like it's controlling their religion, their doctrine, and stuff. They're not allowed to think, for themselves, and so they ultimately end up, the ship, because the ship is on autopilot. The computer is basically it's on a collision course with a plan. They have to stop it. So so they have to do something. They go on to the thing. They get caught the first time, but then they manage to destroy they manage to deactivate the computer and take control of it. And they show the people, I think, how to take control of it, and so they won't all perish, and they'll find that planet that they were supposed to go to.
Right.
Because they were in space for like multiple generations and stuff. It was one of those type of shows.
So, yeah, great episode. I think the next episode, though, Tholian Web, is even better.
This episode is one of my favorites.
Yeah, specifically for the character interactions between Spock and McCoy once they think that the captain is dead, and seeing the little message that he recorded for them to be played in the event of his death, basically saying, hey, you two need to get along and rely on each other if the Enterprise is going to survive. That's basically their friendship in a nutshell. The fact that he took the time to record that for Spock and McCoy, and the fact that they responded so well to it, because before that they were having a pretty intense arguments. I mean, as intense as you can make Spock be, but it pretty much shut both of them up, and they're like, okay, we've got a job to do, and let's go do it. Because any other captain, I don't think, would really do that.
So we see another ship. We see we encounter the USS Defiant, not the one from Deep Space Nine. This is a Constitution class. Remember how the Defiant disappears into inner space and stuff? And remember Scotty says only heaven knows where it's sent the Defiant. Well, let's just say we find out 39 years later where the Defiant went. In season 4 of Enterprise.
Okay. So that idea right there, that because they're in this interspace area, things act weird in this area, where ships disappear, electronics work together, and people's minds start just completely going haywire.
The Space Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, I thought pretty much it was a interesting idea. And of course, this is another episode where Chekhov, arguably even more so than he did 2 episodes ago, went even more off the handle. And
Yeah,
of
because
course, had to
he's
get
like, and die like him. Then he just starts screaming and attacking everybody, and then Spock grabs his face. He's like Chekhov, and we see like that. What was it? A nice, another weird little shot, of Spock.
yeah,
What do you call that?
another
The bird, or what do you call that again? The
wide angle
fisheye?
lens.
Wide angle lens. Oh, jeez, I hate those shots.
Same here.
But yeah, uses the pinch on Chekhov. So
yeah. But it says in the official description of the episode on Amazon Prime that the whole time Kirk was trapped in interphase, which again we learned that toward the end of the episode that the captain was alive the whole time. He was just in sort of a, we'll say, in between matter sort of phase, from being attempted to beam up but couldn't quite make it. Wouldn't you say?
yeah, the basically like like in the beginning of the episode when they're on the Defiance, like McCoy called the incident dissolving. Like his
Right.
hand literally passes through a body and it passes through a table. So like it's kind of going in and out of reality, or not even reality,
Existence and
space-time
non-existence.
existence as we know it and stuff. So yeah, non-existence or something. It's strange.
Sorry, a bit late for this one, but I think I really enjoy this episode.
Yeah, me too.
It's interesting seeing the Tholians again for the first time, and when you see that remaster, they really do it justice.
Oh yeah.
This
They
was
look
the
exactly in the remaster. They look exactly how they look in Star Trek Online, which is awesome.
they're basically they live in like a really heated environment, and they're basically like a crystal. The Tholians are basically like a crystal type of life form. I think.
Right? Yeah.
We
they're
do
like
see them
crystalline or something.
the same episode where I say we re-encountered the Defiant. We actually see a Tholian, a CGI Tholian in Enterprise.
Okay, that's right.
That is true. Yeah, it's in the Mirror universe. I believe we also see him again.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Spoiler where he tortures.
All right.
Tholian. Oh yep. For any spoilers, Enterprise in the Mirror universe, we see a Tholian again, and he gets tortured by Mirror Archer.
Nice.
Yep.
So, ActionCom says about this episode, is this why captains shouldn't go on away missions?
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty much.
That's why
pretty
in
much.
TNG, Riker is always the one that leads all the away missions. Picard
Right.
always stays on the ship because
Exactly.
the captain needs to be, in case something happens, the captain needs to be on board to provide instruction.
Yes.
Whereas the executive officers the executive officers considered more or less expendable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's one of the sad perks about command. You have to realize who's expendable, and that's always like a depressing thing, right?
Right.
Like, oh, he's my first officer, but he's more expendable than I am because they can't afford to lose their captain.
And then they kind of did away with that in like the later shows, like Deep Space Nine. Cisco was always in the middle of the action, even though they were on a space station. But when he was, he was always beating down stuff. And Janeway, I think, was the same too. I think. I'm trying to remember. Well, maybe Chakotay led away missions in Voyager. I don't remember.
He mainly led the away missions for Voyager because same reason, they didn't want to, because Janeway was pretty much their only source of heading home because of her knowledge and experience. So losing her was just like losing Picard. They can't afford that.
Yeah.
Right.
So there were so many instances of people being attacked and stuff. McCoy gets attacked by one of his medical technicians. And you see all these like these clear ketchup bottles full of different colors of liquid. And I'll just say this: one thing I love about TOS, everything is so colorful. The food cubes are so colorful. The lighting of the lighting itself, you see multiple colors.
It's like the saturation for the show is just a lot nicer.
Yeah, and all the different liquids that were in McCoy's lab were all like red, green, yellow, blue, and then he gets wrestled onto the table, and all those like liquid bottles just went all over the place. I was like, oh, such a shame, I like that. I like seeing
I
those
guess
little
they did
colors.
sort of keep that groovy look in the next gen, sort of. But you're right. I think the original series is my favorite when it comes to decor and architecture because of how groovy it just looked. It was super
Right.
alien.
It's
It was very
60s.
alien. It was very endearing, and because I was a kid in the '90s, it looked and that and the music is what really kind of drew, and the characters obviously is what really
Oh
drew me to
yeah,
watching
it's a mix of all
original
three for
series.
sure.
So,
Yeah. So moving on real quick to episode 10, Plato's Stepchildren. I really don't have much to say about this one. This one,
they learned the Force. They learned the
It's-
Force,
it's-
Master Paul, telekinesis to fight
I still
evil.
think this one was
Greeks.
kind of dumb. I don't hate it like I do and the Children Shall Lead and the end of Wolf in the Fold, but this one was a waste to me.
It was basically going down to a planet. They encounter the Platonians, who basically they're aliens that have, I don't remember if they were on Earth or something, but they were by Earth and they learned about Plato's philosophy and stuff, and they
Right.
basically built their society. I mean, the episode's called Plato's Stepchildren, and but here's the thing: they're basically a bunch of children. They act like a bunch of children. They mistreat the one little person in their society, Alexander, played by Michael Dunn, who plays the villain Dr. Lovelace in the original Wild Wild West series that and unfortunately the Will Smith movie is based on. And he's the only one of them that doesn't know how to use telekinesis. So the leader Parman gets an infection because he scratches himself, and so they're very they're very weak. And in terms of their physical nature, they're very weak. They have weak physical they're weak physically, and they're weak with when it comes to immunity and stuff. So McCoy saves them, and because McCoy saved them, they want to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. So they're like, "Oh, McCoy, we want you to stay," and he's like, "No." And so then that's where the conflict starts, and they basically torture Kirk and Spock, forcing them to move and move against their own will. Kirk literally piggybacks Alexander, and he pretends he's a horse. It's probably the most humiliating thing Shatner ever did. I'm wondering if Shatner made the horse sounds too. And then you see Spock tap dancing on Kirk and stuff. It's ridiculous.
It's as ridiculous as it all is, though. I really appreciate the acting because it's not my favorite story. Like Paul, I agree with Paul on this. It's just compared to the rest of the episodes on this season's probably not the best. But the fact that they did this, like even they pranced around as a horse and Spock tap dancing, it really showed how far these people were really, looked like how far they really want to go into Star Trek. And I appreciated that because it's like these people really love to act, and that's important.
They do.
That's really important.
By the way, I know it's a little bit early, but I'm going to go ahead and bring him on screen.
Hey
there.
What's up, Michael?
Hi.
Looks like we caught you by surprise.
So yeah, Michael, this is our background for Tuesday Night Trek. This is the Bridge of the Enterprise. Here, I'll change it to something you're a little bit more familiar with.
Okay.
Was that the Jedi Temple?
No, it's fine.
Yes.
You can keep it.
Yeah. So, and of course, one last thing to talk about this episode before we go and talk about Terminator 2, which, by the way, I've invited Daryl and Matt Cave to join us on that one. Hopefully they make it. ActionCom here says the first interracial kiss.
Yep,
Oh,
it's
right.
between Kirk and Uhura. It's like Act 2 of them being forced against their will because of the Platonians and their telekinesis, forcing them to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do.
Right.
So literally
the dialogue in between that kiss though before it happens. The dialogue that happens is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Now, as important as that moment is, the first interracial kiss, the fact that it is followed up by Shatner grabbing a whip and whipping it at Uhura, Wow.
yes,
Ballsy.
yes.
That was
And
ballsy.
I thought that was shocking that they did the episode Patterns of Force and took them to the group that they took them to. Like, holy cow, man.
Well, wait until they encounter Abraham Lincoln. What Abraham Lincoln says to Uhura.
Oh Lord.
Oh
man.
yes.
I'm not
not
looking
joking.
forward to that.
You get to see
kind of
Abraham Lincoln.
appreciate that scene. You know,
You get to
'cause,
see
like,
Abraham Lincoln in space sitting on his chair, his Lincoln Memorial type chair. It's ridiculous, but it's actually really great. Them talking to
Yeah.
Lincoln was actually really, to me, one of the
scene you were
highlights.
mentioning, nerd, with that when he talks to Uhura, as you know, as offensive as that statement he makes, it's actually, I really appreciate that scene because it shows how more advanced and enlightened, you know, humans are in this century, where they just do not even take insults.
She
They just
literally,
Right.
I literally included that. That's one of like the few things I included in my video, was her saying, "We have learned not to fear words."
Yeah.
So we have a long ways to go.
Yeah, enjoy that
That's
one.
an understatement.
And then last comment we'll talk about with Trek before we move on to Terminator. ActionCom says there was a great moment by Spock where he was dealing with the fact that he had been humiliated by doing the dance around Kirk's head. And
Yeah,
not just that, but basically having emotions forced out of him. Like
yeah,
that.
so he felt. In other words, he felt violated, and like
Yeah.
he literally he takes the mug, or he takes like the piece, and he just breaks it with his hand. That's how. And he's trying. There's no like facial. There's no anger expression from his face, but you see it in his hand, the way he grabs the thing and just breaks it.
Yeah, like you could tell, you know, I'm throwing out all Vulcan logic aside on this. I want to get this guy back.
Yeah, and he literally
that's what
says, he
the
admits, he's
more-
like, I am angry,
That
even
was
though
the
he's
more
very.
enticing part of this episode, just Spock's anger. Even though it was so well hidden, you could also you feel it because
That's
they were
what,
all humiliated.
yes, that's
So-
what makes. I mean, like this whole thing with Spock, you know, like not showing his emotions, but when you see a little bit of it, it's impactful. That's why, like, you know, that's why the critical drinker says, like, you know, like when we see, like, you know, Zachary Quinto Spock, you know, going crazy and stuff, we're just like, we're either laughing or it just looks stupid because it's not what's made Spock work in the first place.
Right. So yeah, overall, I think it was a dumb episode, but I've seen worse.
Hey, they learned.
All right.
They learned how to use the Force, and they won at the end.
That was not
Use the Force, Spock.
He literally, like, sticks his
that's not
hand
how-
out. He literally sticks his hand out and forces the little person to overcome the leader with the knife and stuff.
That's not how the Force works.
It may not be how it works, but that's how it works
Cursed
in
quotes.
this, and it's weird.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right.
so this is so that's what I think. So this
Don't
episode
forget,
felt
where
very
no
Star Wars
man's
to
gone
me.
before.
True. All right, so I gotta highlight this one. McCoy was injecting midichlorians into the
Yeah, the food. It was the food on the planet, because
Right.
they didn't always know how to use the psychokinetic ability. They learned it once they settled on the planet and started eating the food.
All right, so overall, a very hit and miss block of 10 episodes. Hopefully, the next ones are a little bit more stable, but hearing what you guys have said that have seen these episodes, I don't think they're going to be. So let's talk about Terminator 2 now. And Michael, I'm going to put you, forgive me, Brandon, but I'm going to put Michael in his rightful spot.
That's fine. I gotta go anyway. So,
Yeah,
Michael,
same
I'm
here,
glad that you
guys.
finally
I'm
watched
sorry.
Terminator 2.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed it immensely because it is, it's one that you will no longer be mocked for not seeing. So you're in good shape now.
Yeah.
As far as I'm
Alright,
concerned, the series ends with Terminator 2.
That's right.
Right.
It does. Nothing else exists after it.
Nope.
Right.
No.
So yeah,
Apologies. Also, I'm gonna have to leave as well. I have another stream scheduled for Star Trek Online with some other buddies, but
oh, that's fine, man.
definitely Terminator 2. If anyone hasn't seen that, watch that. Great.
Yes.
You will be
One of
shamed.
the best of Arnold's career.
Agreed.
But
So yeah,
that and
thanks.
Predator.
Predator is on the list. We will be getting to that.
Most
Yes,
excellent.
This
Yeah.
this was fun talking episodes 1 through 10. I hope we get this next Tuesday.
Yes,
So,
we will. So thanks
I
again, Brandon and Spock, for popping on here. Nerdporial,
more than
I take
happy.
it you're gonna stay with us.
If you'll have me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And like I said, I sent Matt Cave and Daryl the link also, but I think they're both busy with something right now, so they may join us later.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, you two have a great discussion. We'll see you all later.
You too.
Sounds
See you
good.
later,
Yeah,
See ya,
you guys have a
Brandon.
great. Thanks
See
for
ya.
having me on,
See ya.
Paul. You have a great day.
See you,
You too,
Spock.
Spock. See you, man. All right, Terminator 2. So for those watching this, I have already done my own review of Terminator 2, but we can sort of recap my thoughts on it as Michael goes through his. So I guess my first question, Michael, is overall, what'd you think of this movie?
Well, it definitely was a lot better than the first one. I will admit that,
Okay.
just based on the way it was set up.
Okay, I could agree with that. Now, before we get into that any further, I know you said you didn't quite go through all the thoughts that you wanted to on the first one. So, again, thoughts on the first one, especially now that you've seen the second one, and just sort of walk us through that, what you wanted to say originally.
So, let's see. I want to say I originally said that it was overall a pretty good movie, and honestly, I don't think I said much beyond that. But one thing that the movie does good, the first one that is that its use of practical effects, especially now that pretty much everything's been CGI'd, to Henry Cavill's mustache, to The Rock when he played a scorpion. Basically, there's good CGI and there's bad CGI, but
Agreed.
in my opinion, nothing can really top practical effects, in my opinion, in most cases.
And I agree that
Like-
the practical effects in Terminator 1 for the most part were pretty good. But as I've said before, I did not like the practical effects that they were using to show Arnold without his one eye. I could tell right away that was
Yeah.
not Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
best
like,
best
not
scene in
forgetting-
best scene in the first movie where he's like, I forget, he's like repairing his stuff, and the landlord knocks on his door,
God.
and he's looking
yeah.
for the proper response, and he says a no. He says a no response. I can't repeat here for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
He says two of them. He says two.
He
no-nos.
does.
But
So, real quick, Godzillionaire brought up something. He says, "This is why I love The Thing, practical effects." And I gotta address something here. I saw people saying this in Doomcock's stream. The Thing is not going on our list. I refuse to watch that movie. I've seen like the middle chunk of it, and that movie messed me up for a while. I couldn't sleep right after seeing that movie. So
Really,
hate that movie.
that's a great movie.
It's a great.
I mean,
I'll concede that it's a
I might try
well-made
it.
movie, but holy
only
cow,
issue I have
no
is
thank
the
you.
ending. The ending was the weakest part for me. I felt like there wasn't really a true final battle with the monster or with the thing. But that's
But yeah.
But watch the original thing from the thing from Another World, 1951 is a very good movie too. It's very different though. It's more science fiction than and you barely see the thing. The thing is basically a giant 6'7" man, whereas in in the 1982 one, it
was a whatever.
It's everything all at once in a bloody mess.
Let's just say the thing might be part of my serial horror sessions.
Well, Godzillionaire says, The Thing may be a masterpiece, but it's a masterpiece that I am saying no to.
But of course,
that being said, Michael, if you want to watch it and review it, that's up to you.
Your discretion is advised.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting back on the subject of that one scene where Arnold's working on himself, you can clearly tell that they did wax because they wanted him to be more robotic, I guess. I guess it was just
Mhm.
super hard to kind of mesh together metal with an actual face, which I don't know. I guess they played it safe, which I guess was a good thing for that scene. But I don't know. I also can't help but look at the Terminator and how, when he was cutting himself open, how well it's made. Especially when we
Yeah.
get to see the skeleton of the Terminator. Because I think I actually mentioned where pretty much everything that you would think of so far as like muscle and bone is easily replaced with hydraulics when it comes to the Terminator.
Right.
And honestly, I think it works so far as it makes sense.
It does. So, building off of that, going into Terminator 2, you said you liked it more than the first one, and why is that?
Well, I don't know. So even though I've never saw the movie prior to today and a couple days ago, I kind of had a feeling of what was going to happen because I was thinking about watching it before, but all I did was like look at the synopsis of it just to get an idea for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, when you see the Terminator get here, you would automatically think, "Oh crap, he's back. What do we do now? He's gonna start all this stuff all over again." And then you see the other guy, who is the T-1000, I believe, and you're like, "Okay, who is this?" So right off the bat, I think that the beginning is pretty well set up, and then
Mm-hmm.
regarding some of the characters, where like Sarah Connor, I want to say she's pretty much like the anti-Ray, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
A real strong
100%.
female character. She
Yeah,
gets
like
freaking
as the,
yoked. I mean, she was really
yeah,
attractive. She was really hot in the first one, but she gets yoked in two. Like she is like,
yeah, which I guess kind of makes sense because they do explain that she basically raised her son to be like a military leader because of what
Mm-hmm.
Kyle had said, and just due to the amount of stress of nobody believing her that there was a killer robot on the loose. And of course, could you blame them? But at the same time, just the mental stress that she had clearly
what
showed.
happens to her? What happens to her in this movie is ridiculous. Like all the crap she goes
Mhm.
through in the mental hospital, all the stuff they do to her, and what do you call the guys that run like the sanitarium? The what do you call them? The
The orderlies.
orderlies. They're like,
Yeah.
they're gonna violate her and stuff.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah, like
sleeping.
there's no way this stuff would be
This is
legal.
ridiculous.
At least by today's
Oh yeah. Like I've shared before, even my time that I worked as a correctional officer, you don't do that at all with the people that you're responsible for their care because,
Mhm.
like, no joke, there was a guy that actually did that, and he ended up incarcerated in the exact same jail.
That's the last
Without,
thing you want, and that's the last thing you want to be if you're, bull
Mhm.
crap
yeah.
like that.
Now, real quick,
Yeah.
ActionCom asks, did we watch the theatrical version of the director's cut? We watched the director's cut.
So you got to see
Yeah.
Michael Biehn for a scene. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Though
of course,
admittedly, I was not able to find the alternate ending. Like I even checked the special features, and I honestly couldn't find it.
oh, okay. It's on
So
it's on YouTube, so you'll be able to find it there.
yeah.
And real quick, Austin Dwyer talking about Sarah Connor being like, that can't be the case. The Force Awakens was the first movie to ever have a woman in it. Rey is the bestest ever.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Ever.
Yeah, I take responsibility. I apologize for my assumption earlier. I'll be good. I'll be good
Yeah.
from now on.
Well, I guess if we're going back to the subject of Sarah Connor, I want to say that even though she's written as someone who can take care of herself because she's been through a lot of crap and that she's prepared for this sort of thing, she still depends on other people because she knows she can't do it by herself. Like,
Exactly.
she that one scene where she kind of thinks to herself, all these people that I tried having John as a father never really worked, but here you go. There's the Terminator himself actually being a father to him and just coming to terms with the fact that even though this thing tried to kill her, even though it wasn't like the same exact one.
Yeah.
So,
Black Dragon says, I think that Linda Hamilton still looked good in the movie. Most of the women that I grew up with really hit the wall hard. Tell you what, Black Dragon, you want to come on here and talk about this with us? I'll send you the StreamYard link real quick just to have an extra voice.
Yeah. Whereas most, actually, I won't say most because people in the comments will get triggered.
Say it anyways.
Some female roles today, they will just completely depend on themselves with like no reason at all. They just do it because they're written like that, and that's about it.
Because the script demands it.
Exactly.
And real quick, Godzillionaire points out something pretty cool. He says the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show elaborated on Sarah Connor's training to be a soldier. She wasn't automatically the bestest ever.
I have not seen that show. I've heard nothing but good things about it, but it's one of those shows that like Firefly that got canceled prematurely. Same with Enterprise.
By the way, tell you what, how about you post in the chat like where we could watch it, because that actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
I think.
So anyways, moving on to John. I honestly don't know what to think of him just because I don't know. I mean, it's cool that he knows the stuff from his mom, but at the same time, I just don't know what to think of him, other than he's a kid, and that's all there is really to say. But I guess he's like that classic trope of a rebellious kid actually grows a conscience and actually wants to help save the world or something like that.
Kind of reminds me of our own brother, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Just kidding. ActionCom says James Cameron does have a gift for writing women. The only non-cartoonish people in Titanic were the women, and he says that without irony. Can you back that up, Brian?
Yes, I'm not about the Titanic, but I don't know if you guys seen. I did two reviews. I did one for Alien and one for Aliens, and James Cameron directed the second one, Aliens. And while I love the first one, I actually prefer the first one. When it comes to Ripley's character and how well developed she is, and her arc in that, her arc overall, really shines in Aliens. She didn't really have. I mean, she stepped up in the first Alien when Captain Dallas was killed by the alien, but in the second movie, she her arc is much better written, in my opinion.
I believe
compared to because in the first movie they didn't really. It was really Ridley Scott that came up with the characters at the last minute, giving them like some slight personality. So there wasn't a whole lot of development with them. But in Aliens, like this was a Ripley centric movie, and he basically, he wrote her to be, she's basically a person out of time. Basically, she was floating in space for 57 years. And she she wakes up and she finds out her daughter died of old age. I mean, can you imagine that?
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, and so a big part of her character arc is her coming to terms with that. And she does that through finding this little girl on Hadley's Hope, the colony, through the character of Newt. And she saves her, and she becomes kind of like a replacement daughter. You know, this is kind of her making up for the fact that she wasn't there for her daughter. Because she was floating out in space and stuff. So, but we do meet her daughter in the game Alien Isolation. That's an excellent game if you like survival horror.
Okay, and by the way, how are you, John?
Oh, a little tired. They're killing us at work.
Oh, they're killing us at work, and sometimes we accidentally try and. Well, we get hurt at work too. I bump my head.
Yeah, I read that earlier. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I just got a little bit of a headache and a little bit of soreness right here, but I I don't feel concussed or anything. I'm good.
No, see, with us, I mean, we've been shorthanded for the last 14 months. We're
Wow.
working with 4 people that actually should have about 8 or 9.
Oof. Yeah, that's
And last week, the guy that does initial, he hasn't been at work for the last week and a half because he tested positive. So he's going to be out through the end of this week. So now we're working 3 people in the place of 9.
Wow.
that's not good.
That's
Like,
I mean, he's fine. I mean, he's just, but he's got to stay out of work for 2 weeks.
yeah. So, anyways,
back on the subject.
I like what you said, Godzillionaire. If Paul starts saying he likes The Last Jedi, we'll put him in concussion protocol. No, you need to really watch out if I start saying I like yellow lightsabers and that tacos are better than pasta.
First time I ever saw a yellow lightsaber was in KOTOR, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
I think
it, but
so.
yeah, I didn't realize it, but yeah, we don't see a yellow lightsaber in the prequels at all.
None.
Yeah.
No, you don't see him till the Clone Wars because they're basically the palace guards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or if
they
you were to go
and it,
by the
but except everyone except Mace Windu. Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber because Samuel L. Jackson demanded his own unique,
Well,
lightsaber.
he didn't demand it. He asked for it, and George gave it to him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
back on the
Black
subject.
Dragon, we of course, we brought you in here so you could give your thoughts with Michael on Terminator 2. I probably asked you this before, but overall, what's your thoughts on this movie?
I liked it better than 1 just because of the special effects.
Okay. I agree.
Storyline, though, I think 1 was better.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from with that.
Of course, with all movies, the first one's always going to be the best as far as story goes because it kicks everything off. But as a continuation, it was it does and it doesn't make sense. I mean, you send somebody back to kill the mother of this future leader, and when that fails, now you're going to go back a couple years later and try and kill off the leader. It's just, 3 got almost dumb.
Yeah, I
believe it.
But 1 and 2, if they had stopped it after 2, because they had the lines that they gave at the end of 2, you could have closed it off there.
Right.
Yeah.
And been done with the storyline.
Time travel is such a tricky business.
Yeah, but being Hollywood, they've got to milk it for every dime they can get. And I have the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I've only seen a couple of episodes. I mean, I never sat down and watched them all, just an episode here or there. But I actually have the entire series.
Yeah.
Did you like what you saw from those couple
It was
episodes?
all right. Yeah, I mean, it does go more, it is more of the, how she led up to be where she was at in Terminator 2.
Interesting.
But yeah, we're also talking about how Sarah Connor is basically the anti-modern or no, main female character, where even though that she can basically take care of herself, she can still depend on other people and realize that she's human, whereas some modern and female protagonists, on the other hand, tend to think they're pretty much invincible and that they could rule the world.
They don't need
if
no
they
man.
ask for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of those, and I'm not, I've met strong females, and I've met, I've served with females that I was proud to serve with.
Same here.
When I was in law enforcement and corrections, I worked with females that I knew would have my back. There are strong females out there.
Yes.
But if you look at a lot of these Hollywood females that want to go around talking about, I'm a strong woman, I don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
What are they always with? A man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
You've
what do you
got,
want?
now I like,
A
I love the Harry Potter series, and, Hermione Granger was a great character. But, not Emma Stone, damn.
Emma Watson.
Yeah, Emma Watson, gets on there and says, I don't need a man. I'm my own, other person.
Right.
And then, like a year later, went, oh, actually, yeah, I do need a man.
Yeah.
A good marriage between a man and a woman is mutual respect and communication.
Yes.
No person is an island in and of themselves.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, what you were talking about a little bit earlier with the idea that they could have just stopped Terminator and Terminator 2 right there. Godzillionaire mentions the beauty of Terminator and Terminator 2 is that they were both complete stories in their own right. That's unheard of in Hollywood now. And he's right, because every major movie from these major studios are sequel baiting so hard. They're like, you want to find out what's going on over here? Go watch the next movie.
And they don't even follow stuff up well. It's like they half-ass it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they constantly forget, plot points.
Yeah.
There's no incentive to follow anymore.
There's no consistency.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
None. I agree.
Yeah. That is the MCU in a nutshell. Even when the MCU is at its absolute non-woke best, that is the MCU in a nutshell.
Well, I mean, that was the problem with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Yep, same. I agree.
I mean, there are parts of the sequel trilogy that, yes, I do like. I'm not one of these that's just anti-sequel trilogy, period, and if you don't like it, you're wrong. Yeah. You're entitled to like what you like and not like what you don't like. And there are parts of those movies that, yes, I enjoyed. Overall, especially as a trilogy, no, it was not well done.
No.
There was nothing to look forward to. There was nothing interesting. The prequels, when I first saw
them, nothing was answered.
Yeah. And Kathleen Kennedy literally, when because I went to the Chicago, what do you call it? What's that convention?
Celebration?
I went to the Chicago Celebration. I saw the episode 9, the first episode 9 trailer when it came out, and then Ian McDermott was on stage. He's like, "Roll it again,"
right?
And then at that same time, like someone asked her, like, "What will episode 9? Will episode 9 answer anything?" And she's like, "No, it won't answer anything." What's funny was she was telling the truth for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, that panel was cringe. That episode 9 panel was cringe. I can't stand Stephen Colbert. Oof. They're talking about Finn and Poe being something.
Well, I mean, look at what these cons did to Tim Rose. He was invited to a con. He was invited to a con, and all he did was say, I disagree with the way they treated Admiral Akbar. Yeah. He should have gone out better than what they did him, and they ushered him off stage.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Daryl says it's sad that the sequel trilogy trailers were better than the movies, and he's right.
Yeah.
By the way,
especially Last Jedi.
Check Discord, man. I sent you a link to join this panel.
Like, I think that at its time, the Last Jedi trailer was like the most hyped movie trailer of the year. But then, obviously,
I mean, they just seeing the movie, they just took a completely uninteresting route with Luke. You thought Luke was on the island to learn about something, to learn about perhaps Snoke, and or perhaps learn some secret Jedi, something about the Jedi, something interesting. And he left a map in case, somebody wanted to find him. No, he went there to die. He went there to die. And then you find out the reason why Kylo was after him was because he had a dream, or he had a vision that Kylo was doing no things. And Yeah, and then you see a horrible shot of Mark Hamill with evil eyes about to take his lightsaber and kill him in
Which
his
is
sleep.
definitely not the Luke
This
character.
is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to Terminator 2.
Sorry.
Fine.
Sequel trilogy is its own
Anyways.
video, several videos.
Yeah, if we're gonna complain about the sequel trilogy, Coffee and Corbin's planning a sequel trilogy bashing stream at some points, so we'll take our stuff there.
I'm more angry with The Force Awakens, to be honest.
I understand.
Well,
but
okay, understandable, man. You have a good night, okay?
yeah. Well, all right. Well, I guess we can move on to Arnold, since we already talked about Sarah.
Yeah.
So, Arnold himself. So
Who's
he
your
definitely-
daddy and what does he do? Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Michael.
It's okay. Anyways, where do we get? So he definitely had like the same sort of tone in the other movie, other than the fact that in this movie he was trying to help Sarah, and then the other one he was trying to kill her. And then, I also like how right after they pulled his chip out of his head, also notice how it was like the same side of the inhibitor chips. Like I didn't think of that until like right now.
Honestly, I never paid attention to that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like I don't know. I think it's a cool little thing that just happened.
Yeah.
And then I also like that little scene where he's trying to smile and then he kind of fails miserably.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Literally doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well,
but
I
of
mean, you're
course-
trying to. The kid was trying to teach a machine.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then-
And and Sarah Connor actually, one of the lines that she said in there while she was, while they were at that encampment,
Mhm.
and basically, her memoirs in her head,
Mhm.
talking about this machine was the perfect father for John Connor.
Yeah.
Right.
Of all the men that came into her life, which, yes, helped her learn how to be, what she is. This machine was best suited for this kid to protect him.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And in the end, he proves it by killing himself off so that they cannot get the technology to start this in the first place.
Yeah.
It's
Which
a selfless,
honestly,
it's a selfless act on
Yeah.
on part of a machine. So I think there was more to him than
Oh, definitely.
I mean, he literally says, "Now I know." I forget what's he say. Now I know why.
Now I know why you cry. It is something
Yes.
I can never do.
Yes.
yeah.
That was such an amazing moment in that movie.
It
Yeah,
was.
like literally that scene was the cherry on top. Like I knew it was coming, but at the same time, I can't help but just look in awe as he's slowly lowered, and then all you see is this.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
That is the cherry on top right there.
it is.
Yeah, that part. I first saw that. I actually saw the first. I thought I saw the second. I saw T2 before I ever saw the first Terminator, and I saw it on TV, so I didn't see it like on tape with swearing and lots of blood. I saw it on TV, so it was already censored like hell. And so when I saw the first one, I was so surprised how different it was with Schwarzenegger being a villain. And not only being a villain, he was basically a slasher villain. I mean, the first movie was basically a slasher film.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically imitated Michael Myers from Halloween. Because if you look at Michael, I just watched Halloween not too long ago. That's my next project or my next video is going to be Halloween 1 and 2. But he mimics Michael Myers' movements. Michael Myers is like a robot, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Hell,
ridiculous.
you want to talk about Hollywood milking movie franchises? My God.
Halloween has been rebooted. And
Halloween.
Friday the
there's
13th.
like
Nightmare
4
on
different
Elm
timelines.
Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th. I mean, they've each got, 10, 12, 13 sequels?
Yes.
And at the end of every one, they kill off the main bad guy, and in the next movie,
They bring him back.
they just remade the one and brought
Jamie Lee Curtis
back.
Yeah.
And they burn him up in a cage in the bottom of a basement, and they're making a sequel to that one.
Yeah, the firemen basically they start putting out the fire and
saving.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
and I'm gonna go see it. It's gonna be one of the few movies I'm actually gonna go see because I actually really did like that last one. It was one of the better sequels.
Yeah,
because there's actually some character development. They really they basically make Jamie Lee Curtis Sarah Connor, so she basically learns how to use weapons. She's ready for if whenever Michael Myers escapes again, comes after her, that she'll be ready. And she's pretty yoked. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is pretty yoked in this movie. Yep. So they took a lot of inspiration from T2. So it's interesting how I brought up Halloween and then how relevant T2 is to this movie. To the new movie.
Yeah, in that Arnold is basically like a slasher villain, where you can definitely see the parallels between something like Halloween you mentioned and T1. Now, even though that they do completely different things, and it's not like horror, it's more like action, but just the fact that you have a guy who's seemingly unstoppable and cannot be killed for some reason, just completely go through crowds of policemen, for example.
Right.
That part was crazy. Yeah. That part was crazy.
Yeah. And I also like to add that one scene where Arnold meets the T-1000 for the first time, where you see him carrying the box of roses. I can't help but think of the Mortal Kombat.
That's where they got that from.
Yes. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, yes, I know what that is.
Who does that in Mortal Kombat? I'm not as familiar with Mortal Kombat.
Terminator is in Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh, and so he carries the roses and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's actually replaced with Johnny Cage action figures, but it's pretty much like the same thing where he pulls his shotgun out of a box that was concealing it.
Right.
I was thinking about that moment because I saw T2 before I saw T1. I can only imagine people seeing T2 back in '91 for the very first time. Seeing that. So I'm thinking people probably still thought that because the trailer, they didn't show anything. Cameron didn't show. If you see the T2 trailer, it's just basically showing an assembly line of Terminators. Yeah, that's basically the trailer. So you don't see anything from that movie. So you go into this movie expecting more of T1. So everybody thought Schwarzenegger was going to be the bad guy. So when he says "get down," that's where it takes a hard left turn. Mm-hmm. It's actually Robert Patrick is now the villain.
Well, even if you saw T1, the minute you see Arnold, he was the assassin in the first one. You automatically think he's the assassin in this one.
Yeah. Which, speaking of the Terminator, before we move on, ActionCom asked earlier, why does having the Terminator not kill not feel like a betrayal of the character? And I honestly hadn't considered this. I think it just depends on what you want to see. Do you want to see the Terminator be this unstoppable killing machine? Then yeah, you might be disappointed in seeing him not kill. But do you want to see the Terminator be a hero and protect John Connor, then like I did? And it makes sense.
Yeah. And also, if you
that was actually one of my favorite scenes. I mean, his programming is an assassination protocol. Period. Mm-hmm. That's the way he was designed. And John Connor in the future reprogrammed him to protect his younger self, but left those assassination protocols.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he was going to need them in the upcoming battle.
Yes.
And when they go to the hospital and he gets off the bike and the guard comes out and he just shoots him twice in the kneecaps and, John Connor's free. What did you do? He'll live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah, he is.
He didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Though he very well could have.
Yeah, which is another thing I was gonna say. Just because you don't kill somebody doesn't mean you're not brutal. Like, obviously, shooting him at the kneecaps is brutal, which is right to the nature of the Terminator itself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
just
his
ask
programming.
Yeah.
Batman. You can be absolutely brutal and not kill people.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he probably breaks someone's arm in like at least 100 different places.
Right. So,
I mean, you guys have seen 1 and 2, and I mean, you can end it there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my plan at
So-
least.
I mean, there were
So-
some of the aftermarket, and now I've seen them all.
Mhm.
Now let me rephrase that. I have not seen Woke Fate,
Okay.
Oh.
and I have no intention to, because everything that I've seen as far as the trailers go and the reviews, and they completely assassinate the Sarah Connor character. They completely destroy the Terminator character. I mean, they're not what they were.
Yeah.
Understood.
So, I mean, I really don't want to see it. But the one in there with, the guy that played Batman, I can't think of his name now.
Christian
Val
Bale.
Kilmer,
No. The new Batman.
Robert Pattinson, or
No.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale
Yeah.
Oh.
plays John Connor in one of these aftermarket Terminator movies. I think it was Terminator Salvation.
Yeah.
Nice.
It looks
Which
like actually,
isn't really a bad movie. But in the same token, these aftermarket movies don't follow the storyline of the Terminator franchise. They're just offshoots. They're one-ups of
Right.
Terminator.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you can skip them and not lose anything. And like I said, 3 got really dumb.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 was, the whole premise of the Terminator is, this computer rises up and tries to destroy the human race. And, humans fight back. And there's this ultimate leader that now they're going to try and kill. And you get to the 3rd one, and at the end of it, you find out it's all inevitable anyway.
Yeah, I hated that. That was
It's
awful.
going to happen no matter what you do.
It just undoes T2.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Wow.
All
But
right,
Daryl
well,
says Bryce Dallas Howard plays his wife in that one, and isn't she involved in the Favreau and Filoni Mandoverse stuff?
Yeah, she directed
actually
episode
directed-
4 of season 1, the one with
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the Seven Samurai type episode.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's talk about the T1000. and
Yes,
basically what?
best part of the movie.
Yeah.
As far
I
as the
think,
effects go, yes. I'm not sure how something like that would work.
Yeah.
That was
be
all
honest.
ILM, I believe. I think ILM worked on that.
No, I mean, I'm not talking the effects. I'm talking how you would get nothing but liquid metal to function the way of a robot.
Yeah. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
either. Which, honestly,
Clearly movie
seeing-
magic.
It doesn't take away from the movie. I mean, it's neat. And, the actors, Robert Patrick played it so well.
He did.
Like seeing him just run like a robot, like after John Connor on the bike and stuff was pretty like. It was
And they always
crazy.
had that same beat every time that he took off after somebody, and it was just so fitting.
Yeah.
It was.
I honestly expected him to have like something of super speed, not like the Flash, but faster than say.
Well, he was keeping up with the car.
He was.
I mean, he wasn't overtaking the car, but he was keeping up with it,
Mhm.
at least until John Connor blew his hand off.
True.
But yeah, and it looks like the Godzillionaires said something about nanomachines on how the T1000 works. I mean, I guess that
Could have been.
somewhat makes sense, but that also doesn't.
Yeah, I
explain,
mean, that's more of a Star Trek thing, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
And they do
Right.
have things like that now, just not to the degree that can control something like liquid metal.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, Daryl, you have a good night and see you later, okay?
Yep, see you later.
See you, Daryl.
Yeah, see you Thursday, which, by the way, guys, that is the new Echo Base Day. If you haven't heard, so make sure to tune into Echo Base Network now on Thursdays, which means I'm going to have to change my song about them now because that still says live on Saturdays.
Yeah. But anyways, when it came to the T-1000 fighting Arnold, I honestly can't help but get the same feeling as if you were to watch the Venom movie when he was fighting Venom and Riot, who was like this overpowered symbiote. And then
Right.
Venom is just like your basically like vanilla symbiote, just your standard one.
Yeah, it
Especially
was kind of
since
the same feel. I mean, he basically got his butt kicked, but in the end, it was just that one little extra thing that caused him to win, and then the self-sacrifice.
Yeah. And then also the way that the T-1000 looked when it was all blown apart, like it looked like that. Like I don't know if you remember this from science class, but you know how sometimes if you put gallium in your hands, then it'll start to melt. Like it kind of looks
Yeah.
like that.
You talk about when he was shattered.
Well, just any part of him that you saw the metal exposed, like when he was completely blown to bits at the end, or when he was shot in the face a couple times.
Right, I remember that. But the scene specifically where he was shattered, when I did my review on this, I think this was
Oh,
the
yeah.
Matt Cave mentioned this, how they did the scenes of all the liquid metal sort of pooling back together. They did that with mercury.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that was
yeah.
mercury. That mercury flows like that.
So yeah, that was definitely cool to see them pull that off. And real quick, ActionCom brings up an interesting detail that the T-1000 flinches when he got shot.
Huh.
I didn't notice that.
I've got to say, I didn't notice it either.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess it was just, we all assumed it was like the bullet impacting him.
Right.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely have to go back and look for that because yeah, I'm watching this movie again.
Yeah.
So anything else, Michael, that you want to talk about before we head out of here because it is getting a little bit late?
Yeah. Well, I guess some final thoughts were, I don't know, just the fact that this was a really well put together movie. And it literally had
was.
the perfect ending. Like, it doesn't get any better where you see John teaching the Terminator basically how to be a human. And then at the end, you see him just do this. Like, literally the perfect ending.
Yeah, or the way he does "Hasta la vista, baby," after right as he is about to shatter the T-1000.
Yeah, when you get to the end of the original Terminator, as she's driving off in the distance, you still have that "this is coming." They left it open for a sequel. This movie, at the end with her final speech, actually closes it out.
Yes.
You are done.
And then
so they did that well.
And then Terminator 3 comes and is a disappointment, allegedly.
Yeah, Cameron had nothing to do with it. It was just it was a cash grab. What's funny is about T2 is Schwarzenegger kept asking Cameron's like, when are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? When are we going to do the second movie? And Cameron's like, I don't know. And then after the Abyss, he's like, yeah, let's go back to after he made the Abyss in like '89. This was the one he did after Aliens, and there were so many problems with the production. Like he nearly drowned. Like he was testing some of the diving equipment, and he nearly drowned himself.
Ooh, not good.
I learned this from Critical Drinkers video because he talks about the horrible production that the Abyss went through and stuff. And so I'm guessing after all that crap with the Abyss, he decided to go back to Terminator, and it worked.
I believe it.
All right. Well, I guess that's just my final thoughts, and there you have
Yep.
V2.
So thank you guys for joining us for another Tuesday night double feature of Tuesday Night Trek and a special segment afterward, this time Michael's review of Terminator 2. So as always, thank you, Brian, the Nerdporial Lifeform, for being one of my co-hosts on Tuesday Night Trek. And Black Dragon, thanks again for joining us on such short notice to talk about Terminator 2 with us.
Oh, not a problem. I did put in the chat earlier, especially for you and Galgo 13.
Mm-hmm.
We can get together on Discord, and I'll give you my character name for Star Trek Online.
I'm in.
So if you guys ever need any help on Star Trek Online, I can help you out. I mean, I've been playing it for 5 years.
This
I
might
might consider playing it myself because I mean I've been a fan for a long time. My brother is the one that actually plays.
Well, like I told
Star Trek
Brandon
Online.
I played it free to play for the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a special where it was $100 off the lifetime membership, and I went, yeah, that's worth the money.
Wow.
And I've been a lifetime member for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the normal cost for the lifetime?
It's $300. You can pay a monthly membership of like $15 a month that you can renew every month, or a one-time fee of $300 that's good for as long as the game's playing.
Nice.
And then I want to say roughly about every 6 months, they have, like a Black Friday. I did it on a Black Friday deal where they said, hey, $100 off. It's only $200 for a lifetime membership. And I went, here's $200.
Yeah, I'm free to play right now, but I will definitely be keeping my eyes out.
And you can play the entire.
That.
You can play the entire story. I mean, there is nothing unlike the Star Wars: The Old Republic,
right?
Where you don't have access to, certain updates unless you become a member.
Right.
Star Trek Online is free to play, and you are not restricted on anything.
Nice.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
You can play all the way through. There are certain restrictions, such as you don't get a free Tier 6 ship.
Makes sense.
But you can go on their online store and buy one for its 3,000 Zen, and that roughly equates to about $30.
Fair enough.
However, for somebody, you're my friend, Brandon's my friend, I have free Tier 6 Starship coupons.
Nice.
That I can give away as gifts. And that means you can go into the store and say, hey, here's my coupon, and get a Tier 6 Starship if somebody gives you a coupon.
Nice.
So like I said, I can help you guys out if you want to stay free to play. That's, me, I thought that $200 was worth a lifetime membership because there are a lot of perks that do come with it.
Yeah, I will definitely, if I can find I will try and find that deal for the lifetime membership when it pops up and capitalize on it. But for now, I'm going to stay free to play.
Yeah. Like I said, the first 2 years I played was free to play. And I took a character all the way to the end game.
Wow.
Now, I did spend, at that time, I did spend $30 for the Tier 6 Starship so that I could have one. But they also have events. They have 4 events throughout the year where all you have to do, what the grinding is in these online games.
Oh, yeah.
You go in and grind, and you can get a free, and usually they're Tier 6 Starship. They may not be what you're looking for, but it is a Tier 6 Starship that you get for free just for grinding.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, you can do it. Matter of fact, I just finished, they just had the summer event on Ryza.
Okay.
Pleasure playing.
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and shut down this stream now, guys. Again, thank you to Black Dragon and Nurpora Lifeform for being here. As always, I am Master Paul. He is Mando on Fire. Make sure to catch us on our next stream Sunday. I'm sure we'll have a video or two out after that. And just remember, guys, the Force is family.
You
See you
betcha.
guys later.
See you guys later.
See ya.